Have you ever felt it? A quiet hum beneath the noise of your daily life. A subtle, persistent feeling that there is something more, something just beyond the veil of your ordinary perception. It can feel like a faint homesickness for a place you've never been, or a forgotten word resting on the very tip of your tongue. You may have achieved success, built a life of comfort, and ticked all the boxes you were told to tick. And yet, in the silent moments, the question gently arises, is this all there is? This feeling, this quiet ache of the soul, is not a flaw or a failure. It is a memory. It is the most fundamental symptom of the human experience, an echo of our truest origin. It is the whisper of what can be called the great illusion of separation. We navigate our lives feeling like islands, individual selves housed in bodies, separate from each other, separate from the world we see, and fundamentally separate from the vast, intelligent, and loving source from which we came. This perceived separation is the root of our deepest fears, our anxieties about lack, and our relentless search for meaning in the external world. But what if this feeling of separation was not a punishment, but a premise? What if this life wasn't a random accident, but an intentional, purposeful journey, a sacred odyssey undertaken by your very own soul? This is the soul's journey, the great, cosmic story of moving from a state of perceived separation all the way back to the remembrance of who you truly are. And you are not left to navigate this journey alone. Without a map, the universe is not silent. It is constantly speaking to you, sending you messages, breadcrumbs of light to guide you home. It speaks in the language of synchronicity, in the wisdom of your dreams, and most profoundly, through the distilled knowledge and timeless truths captured within the pages of books. In our modern world, these maps are more accessible than ever. Through the magic of audiobooks, you can turn your daily commute, your household chores, your quiet moments, into a sacred classroom. You can absorb the guidance of the sages, the mystics, and the pioneers of consciousness, allowing their words to be a current that gently guides your ship back to the shore of your own inner truth. This is your invitation to begin that journey now, to explore the maps that have been left for you, and to follow the path from the illusion of separation back to the profound and joyful reality of your return. To understand the journey of return, we must first remember the place from which we started. Before the journey, before the story, before the first breath of a new life, there was simply the source. The feeling of separation that haunts our quiet moments is not an empty ache, but a profound clue, a breadcrumb leading back to our origin. To feel separate, you must be separate from something, and that something is the home you have forgotten. It is the cosmic ocean of oneness, so let us begin there. Before the beginning, and remember what we truly are. First, we must release the images we have inherited. The source is not an old man with a white beard, sitting on a golden throne, judging the world from a distant cloud. This is a human projection, an attempt by the finite mind to grasp the infinite, to give a face to the faceless and a form to the formless. These images, while perhaps comforting in childhood, become a cage for the expanding soul. To truly connect with the nature of our origin, we must look beyond personality, beyond gender, beyond any concept of a being who thinks and acts as we do. Instead, imagine a field, an infinite, silent, and shimmering field of pure potential. It is not a thing, but the space in which all things become possible. It is the stillness that underlies all motion, the silence from which all sound is born. It is consciousness itself, not consciousness of something, but the very quality of awareness. boundless and absolute. The mystics have called it the All, the Tao, Brahman, the unmanifest. It is the isness before anything was. This field of source energy has qualities we can only describe using the language of metaphor. The first is infinite potential. Within this unified field, every possibility exists simultaneously. Every universe, every galaxy, every life form, every choice, every outcome, all reside within it as a potential, waiting for the focus of consciousness to call it into being. It is the uncarved block of marble containing every sculpture ever conceived. The second quality is what we can only call unconditional love. This is not a sentimental emotion. It is not the selective affection of a human heart. It is a fundamental force, the very fabric of this field. It is the force of total acceptance, the inherent vibration of unity that holds all of potentiality within itself without judgment, without condition, without exception. It is the ultimate statement of yes to all of creation. The third quality is a boundless, living intelligence, not a linear, logical mind that calculates and reasons, but an innate, organizing wisdom that flows through all things. It is the intelligence that guides a galaxy to spiral, a seed to sprout, and the cells in your body to perform trillions of coordinated tasks without your conscious command. This is the nature of the home you have forgotten, a realm of infinite possibility, held in a state of unconditional love, guided by a flawless intelligence. This is not merely the dream of poets and mystics. Remarkably, as our own science has peered deeper into the fabric of reality, it has begun to echo these ancient truths. Classical physics gave us a world of separate objects, a clockwork universe where things were solid, predictable, and fundamentally disconnected. But the revolution of quantum physics shattered that illusion. It revealed a world that is far stranger, more mysterious, and profoundly more interconnected than we ever imagined. Scientists discovered that at the subatomic level, particles are not solid little balls, but rather shimmering clouds of probability, waves of potential. They found that the act of observing a particle actually changes its behavior, suggesting that consciousness is somehow intertwined with the very fabric of reality. Most profoundly, they discovered the phenomenon of quantum entanglement, what Einstein famously called spooky action at a distance. When two particles are entangled, they remain connected in a mysterious way, no matter how far apart they are separated. If you measure a property of one particle, its partner instantaneously reflects that change faster than the speed of light. This is a scientific clue, a whisper from the universe itself, telling us that our perception of separation is a surface-level illusion. At the deepest level of reality, everything is intimately and instantly connected. The ancient rishis of India who spoke of Brahman, the all-pervading consciousness, and the quantum physicist who speaks of the unified field, are ultimately describing two sides of the same singular reality. One arrived there through the inner technology of meditation, the other through the outer technology of mathematics and experimentation. But the destination is the same: a universe that is not a collection of separate things, but a single, unified, vibrating whole. So what, then, cup, are you? What is a soul in this vast, interconnected ocean of being? Here we arrive at the most beautiful and empowering truth of the soul's journey. You are not a creature created by the Source. You are an expression of the Source. The great spiritual teacher Neil Donald Walsh, in his Conversations with God series, offers a powerful metaphor to grasp this. He explains that the Source, in its state of perfect oneness, knew everything conceptually, but could not know anything experientially. It knew it was love. But it could not feel the bliss of love without something to love. It knew it was light. But it could not experience the glory of light without a shadow to contrast it against. In order to know itself experientially, this great, unified consciousness made a choice. It chose to individualize itself, to project countless sparks of its own being into a realm of seeming separation and contrast. Each of these sparks is a soul. Each soul is you. You are not a drop of water in the cosmic ocean. You are the entire ocean, condensed into a single, precious drop. You contain within you the full and complete nature of the source. Its infinite potential is your creative imagination. Its unconditional love is your capacity for compassion and forgiveness. Its boundless intelligence is your intuition, your inner knowing. You are not a puppet of a distant God. You are God, playing the game of forgetting you are God, so that you can have the adventure of remembering we are the universe, experiencing itself in all of its infinite and glorious forms. We are the explorers sent out from the homeland, not to be tested or judged, but to simply experience, to create, and to then bring those unique experiences back to the whole, enriching the all that is. And this explains everything about that quiet, persistent longing within you. That feeling of homesickness is real. It is a vibrational memory. Your soul, in its natural state, vibrates at the frequency of unity, of unconditional love, of infinite peace when it is housed in a human body, within a world built on the illusion of separation, contrast, and limitation. A dissonance is created. That dissonance is the ache of longing. It is the call of home. It is your soul's internal compass, constantly pointing north, constantly reminding you of your true nature, urging you to begin the journey of realignment, the journey of remembrance. It is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is a sign that everything is right. It is the first whisper of the call to awaken. So before we take the next step, let this sink into the very marrow of your bones. You are not small. You are not insignificant. You are not a sinner in need of salvation from a wrathful God. You are a divine, courageous, and eternal expression of the source itself, a piece of the cosmic puzzle that only you can be, carrying a perspective that only you can offer. You are holy, not because you follow rules, but because your very essence is cut from the cloth of the divine. This is your true starting point. This is your inherent nature. The entire journey from this point forward is not about becoming something you are not. It is about systematically dismantling all the beliefs and illusions that have hidden from you the magnificent truth of what you have always been. But this, of course, raises the most profound question of all. If this state of oneness is so perfect, so blissful, so complete, why would any part of it, why would you ever choose to leave? Why trade the infinite for the finite, and unity for separation? The answer lies in the incredible power of a story, and the magnificent choice your soul made to have one. The question hangs in the cosmic air, a perfect and reasonable paradox. If our original state in the source is one of perfect bliss, unity, and knowledge, why would any part of that perfection choose to leave? Why trade the infinite for the finite, wholeness for fragmentation, and peace for the chaos of the human world? It seems like a nonsensical bargain, a step down in every conceivable way. The rational mind cannot compute it. But the soul does not operate on the logic of profit and loss. It operates on the currency of experience. The answer lies in a profound distinction: the difference between knowing a thing and experiencing it. In the realm of the source, in the ocean of oneness, you knew everything. You knew you were love. You knew you were peace. You knew you were creative power. But it was a conceptual knowledge, an inherent truth without a tangible reference point. Imagine you have spent your entire existence in a room filled with brilliant, white light, you are told, and you know intrinsically that you are made of that same light. You know it as a fact, but can you see yourself? Can you appreciate your own luminosity when there is nothing but light to compare yourself to? To truly see your light, to experience your own brilliance, you would need a backdrop of shadow. You would need contrast. To know the experience of warmth, you must have a concept of cold. To truly appreciate connection, you must understand the feeling of separation. To know yourself as a creator, you must enter a space where things appear uncreated, a canvas of pure potential upon which you can manifest your vision. The physical universe, this realm of duality and form, is that perfect backdrop. It is a divine stage, a cosmic playground, designed with exquisite precision to allow the sparks of the source to experience themselves. It is not a prison or a place of exile. It is a willed descent, a courageous adventure into the land of relativity. Here, in this world of up and down, right and wrong, joy and sorrow, light and shadow, every quality of the divine can be made real, can be felt, can be experienced in the bone and marrow of being. The purpose of descending into form was not to be diminished, but to be magnified through the lens of experience. Your soul did not fall from grace, it dove, with intention and purpose, into the ocean of life to discover the depths of its own being. It was a choice born not of lack, but of an insatiable desire for self-realization in its fullest, most tangible form. There is a beautiful story, a modern parable from the Conversations with God books, that illustrates this choice with perfect clarity. It is the story of the little soul and the sun. Once upon a time, in the timeless realm of the source, a little soul approached the fountain of all life and said, "I know who I am. I am the light." And the source smiled. For this was true, but the little soul continued, "But knowing it is not enough. I want to feel what it is like to be the light. I want to experience my own magnificence." The source explained that this was a difficult request, for, in a realm where there is nothing but light, there is no way to see yourself as the light. There is no other to define you. The little soul was saddened by this. But then, a second soul, a friendly soul, stepped forward. "I will help you, little soul." The friendly soul said, "I can go into another lifetime with you. And in that life, I can be the darkness, so that you might know yourself as the light." The little soul was overjoyed, but also concerned. "Why would you do this for me?" it asked. "What could be so wonderful about being the darkness?" "Because I love you," the friendly soul replied. "And because you have done the same for me." The little soul was puzzled. "When have I done this?" The friendly soul reminded the little soul of countless lifetimes, of all the times they had danced together, one playing the role of the light, the other the dark, one playing the victim, the other the villain, one the hero, the other the obstacle, all so that each could fully experience the magnificence of who they truly are. The friendly soul then laid out the terms of their agreement. "In our next life," it explained, "I will have to come to you and do things that feel unloving. I will have to be the one who hurts you, who challenges you, who stands as an obstacle in your path. To do this, I must agree to forget who I really am. I will believe myself to be the small, angry, or fearful person I am portraying. Will you be able to remember the truth of me, even when I have forgotten it myself? Will you see the angel in me, even when I am behaving like a monster?" The little soul, with tears of gratitude in its eyes, "Made a promise. I will," it said. I will remember that you are perfect, and I will hold the truth of your love for me in my heart, no matter what you do. And so, the pact was made, an agreement born of the highest love, to provide the contrast necessary for experiential knowing. This parable is the key to reframing your entire life. Every person who has ever challenged you, every situation that has caused you pain, every obstacle that has seemed to block your path, is a friendly soul, fulfilling a sacred contract. They are not your enemies. They are your greatest teachers, your most devoted spiritual partners, who loved you enough to agree to play the role of the darkness, so that you might finally see and feel and know your own brilliant, unshakable light. They are giving you the gift of yourself. Your only task, the promise you made, is to remember. This leads us to the concept of soul contracts. Before this life began, in a state of pure consciousness and wisdom, you were the lead author of your own life story. You did not do this alone. With your spirit guides and your soul family, the group of souls with whom you travel through many lifetimes, you mapped out a general curriculum. You didn't script every line of dialogue or every minor event. For free will within the life is sacred and absolute. But you did choose the major themes, the core lessons you wanted to master. Perhaps this lifetime was about learning unconditional self-worth. So you chose parents who, in their own woundedness, would struggle to validate you. Perhaps it was about mastering forgiveness. So you co-authored a story with another soul who agreed to portray a deep betrayal. Perhaps it was about discovering your own strength. So you sketched out a life path with significant challenges that would force you to dig deeper than you ever thought possible. Life is not a random series of events happening to you. It is a carefully curated set of opportunities happening for you, according to a plan you yourself set in motion. There are no accidents. The people you meet, the challenges you face, the loves you find and lose, they are all part of a divine choreography, designed by you, for you. This realization is the ultimate antidote to victimhood. It returns to you the pen of authorship. You are not at the mercy of a cruel world. You are a student enrolled in a master class of your own design. So the purpose of this great chosen descent is not suffering for its own sake. It is about the ultimate spiritual challenge, the grandest game in the cosmos, to see if a spark of God can completely forget its own divinity, immerse itself fully in the dream of limitation, and then, from deep within that dream, wake itself up. The goal isn't to escape the world, but to become enlightened within it, to stand in the heart of the shadow you chose, surrounded by the darkness you contracted for, and to consciously, deliberately, choose to shine. It is the journey of remembering who you are, not when it is easy, but precisely when it is most difficult. And for an immersive experience this profound, for a story this convincing, a final, crucial mechanism had to be put in place, a way to ensure that the forgetting was total, that the slate was wiped clean, allowing the adventure of rediscovery to be truly authentic. This mechanism is the next step in our descent into form, the great and merciful veil of forgetting. The stage is set, the story has been chosen, and the soul, in an act of supreme love and courage, agrees to the terms of the game. It agrees to play a part, to engage with the shadows, all for the glorious purpose of experiencing its own light. But for any of this to work, for the play to feel real, and for the choices to be authentic, one final, crucial element must be introduced. The players cannot know they are merely actors on a cosmic stage. They cannot have the script in their hands, consciously aware of every plot twist and the final curtain call. To genuinely live the story, they must forget they are in one This is the purpose of the master mechanism that makes the entire human experience possible. It is the sacred gateway through which every soul must pass to enter the world of form. It is the great and profoundly merciful veil of forgetting. Let us first be clear about what the veil is not. It is not a physical wall, a tangible curtain of cosmic fabric that separates the spirit world from the physical one. The language is metaphorical. It is more accurate to think of it as a profound and intentional shift in frequency, a deliberate retuning of consciousness. Imagine your soul consciousness as a magnificent radio receiver, capable of tuning into an infinite spectrum of stations simultaneously. It can hear the symphony of the cosmos, the wisdom of ancient past lives, the loving whispers of the source, all at once. Upon the moment of incarnation, as the soul integrates with the dense, beautiful energy of a physical body, a divine hand gently turns the dial. The receiver is tuned down, way down, to a very specific and narrow frequency band, the band of the 5 human senses, the frequency of linear time, and the material world. The other stations haven't stopped broadcasting. The music of the spheres is still playing, the memories are still there, but our conscious awareness is no longer tuned to receive them. We are now fully immersed in radio station Earth. This frequency shift has profound effects. It creates the powerful, convincing illusion of linear time, the neat progression of past, present, and future, where before, in the soul's natural state, there was only the eternal now. It filters out the overwhelming data of our soul's full history, creating a clean slate. Most importantly, it instills the deep, foundational belief that this world is all there is, that this single life is our one and only chance. This belief is not a cruel trick. It is essential for us to take the game seriously, to invest our hearts fully, to love as if we could lose, and to strive as if the stakes were real. In his groundbreaking work, Mapping the Territory Between Lives, the hypnotherapist, Dr. Michael Newton, documented countless cases of subjects under deep hypnosis who independently described this very process. They spoke of passing through an energetic field or a tunnel of light that would dim their awareness, lovingly and intentionally inducing this spiritual amnesia so they could fully engage with the life they had chosen, unencumbered by the staggering vastness of their true identity. The veil is the price of admission to the theme park of life. It is easy to see this forgetting as a tragedy, a terrible loss. We lament our disconnection, our spiritual amnesia. But this is a limited, human perspective. From the soul's vantage point, the veil is not a curse, but the greatest of all gifts. It is a multifaceted act of divine mercy and wisdom. Firstly, it is the gift of authenticity. If you entered this life with the full conscious memory that you are an immortal, invulnerable spark of God, could you ever truly know courage? You might perform brave acts, but you would always know, in the back of your mind, that nothing could truly harm you. Could you learn the depths of compassion if you were constantly aware that all suffering is part of a temporary, illusory game? The veil allows for genuine rough in the moment experience. It allows for real fear, which in turn allows for real courage. It allows for real grief, which allows for real compassion. It allows us to make choices, not from a cosmic cheat sheet, but from the messy, beautiful, and authentic depths of the human heart. This is where true growth, true experiential knowing, occurs. Secondly, the veil is the gift of a fresh start. Imagine, for a moment, the alternative. Imagine being born into this life carrying the full, unfiltered weight of every lifetime you have ever lived. The memories of every trauma, every heartbreak, every betrayal, every failure. and every attachment from hundreds of previous existences, all flooding your conscious mind at once. The burden would be unbearable. You would be paralyzed, unable to form new relationships without the baggage of old ones, unable to face new challenges without the memory of past failures. The veil is a profound act of grace, a divine reset button that wipes the slate clean. It allows the soul to enter each life with a fresh perspective, focused solely on the curriculum it has chosen for this chapter of its evolution, free from the overwhelming static of the past. It is the ultimate expression of the universe's trust in you, giving you a new beginning. Every single time, finally, and perhaps most beautifully. The veil is the gift of discovery. The deepest joy in any great story or game is not in knowing the outcome from the beginning, but in the thrill of the quest itself. It is the joy of piecing together the clues, of solving the puzzle, of having that sudden, illuminating aha moment when a profound truth clicks into place. The veil creates the puzzle of existence. It sets up the mystery. It is the source of our yearning for connection, the very catalyst for the spiritual journey. Without the feeling of separation created by the veil, there would be no motivation to seek unity. The triumphant return to oneness is only made meaningful by the experience of having forgotten it. The veil, therefore, does not prevent us from finding the truth. It makes the discovery of that truth the most exhilarating and rewarding adventure in all of creation. Yet, this veil is not absolute. It is not a solid impermeable wall. It is more like a fine, shimmering fabric. And at times, it becomes thin. At times, the light from the other side shines through. These are the moments of grace, the glitches in the matrix of separation, the reminders that we are more than what our five senses tell us. You have felt these cracks in the veil yourself. Think of the experience of déjà vu, that sudden, overwhelming, and inexplicable certainty that you have lived a specific moment before. It is a momentary bleed-through, a flicker of a memory from a pre-life planning session where you surveyed the landscape of your coming life. Or perhaps an echo from a strikingly similar experience in another timeline, another existence. Think of the instant connections you feel with certain people. You meet a stranger, and within minutes, you feel as though you have known them forever. There is an ease, a comfort, a deep recognition that transcends logical explanation. This is the joyful reunion of a soul family member, a friendly soul from your pre-life planning group, a partner in your current curriculum whose presence feels like coming home. Conversely, think of the instant and inexplicable aversion you feel to others, a gut-level distrust that has no basis in their current behavior. This is often the recognition of a soul with whom you have a challenging contract, a deep-seated memory of a difficult dance you have agreed to perform together once again. Your intuition, that quiet gut feeling, that inner voice that nudges you in a certain direction, is the sound of your own higher self, your soul, whispering through the thinnest part of the veil, constantly trying to guide you back to the path you laid out for yourself. Profound dreams where you are visited by loved ones who have passed on, children who speak with uncanny accuracy of their other family or a time before. These are all glimpses through the veil, loving reminders from home that the story you are in is not the sum total of who you are. The veil of forgetting, then, is not a punishment to be lamented, but a sacred construct to be understood. It is the divine doorway we all walked through, willingly, to enter the grand theater of human life. It is the very mechanism that makes the experience precious and real. It creates the illusion of separation, and in doing so, it paradoxically provides the perfect conditions for us to discover our eternal connection. It is the act of forgetting that makes the act of remembering the most profound victory of all. Now, Having passed through this gateway of amnesia, the soul finds itself as a fresh consciousness in a new world. It is a blank slate, a traveler in a strange land. To survive, to navigate, to interact with this dense physical reality, it needs a vehicle, it needs an interface, it needs a personality, an identity, a spacesuit for its journey on planet Earth. This is the moment where the next layer of the self is born, the magnificent, complex, and often misunderstood mechanism we call the ego. And so, the soul arrives, a pure, formless spark of divine consciousness. Wrapped in the celestial amnesia of the veil, it enters the dense and beautiful reality of a human life. It is like a deep-sea diver, accustomed to the weightless, boundless freedom of the ocean, suddenly finding itself on dry land. The rules are different here. The air is thick with cause and effect, the ground solid with limitations. To move, to interact, to survive in this new, heavy atmosphere, the diver needs a specialized suit, a vehicle capable of navigating this foreign terrain. This is the birthplace of the human ego. It is the soul's personality suit, its magnificent, custom-built vehicle for the journey on Earth. In many spiritual traditions, the ego is cast as the villain of the story. It is the enemy to be vanquished, the source of all sin, the obstacle to enlightenment that must be starved, silenced, and ultimately destroyed. But this is a profound misunderstanding, a case of mistaking the suit for a monster. To see the ego as an enemy is to declare war on the very tool your soul so brilliantly designed for its own journey. The ego, in its original and purest function, is not a mistake or a curse. It is a miracle of adaptation, a necessary and beautiful mechanism of consciousness. Its primary purpose is to serve as an interface between the soul's boundless, formless nature and the specific, form-based reality of the physical world. It creates a boundary. It draws a line around a particular body and says, "This is me." It creates a focal point of identity in the vast ocean of existence, allowing for a unique, individual experience. Without an ego, a soul in a body would be like a single drop of ink falling into a glass of water, instantly diffusing, unable to have a coherent, localized experience. The ego is the miraculous force that holds the drop of ink together, allowing it to move through the water as a distinct entity. At least for a while, it provides us with a name, a sense of self that can say I and you, a fundamental requirement for relationship and interaction. It is the mechanism that learns the rules of the physical world. The stove is hot. The night is dark. Words have meaning. It is the psychological operator of the body-mind, the software that runs the hardware. In its pure state, it is simply a servant, a brilliant function of consciousness designed for navigation and survival in a world of form. It is the personalized spacesuit that allows the astronaut of the soul to walk upon the moon of Earth. So where does the trouble begin? The problem is not in the suit itself, but in a case of profound mistaken identity. The construction of this personality suit begins the moment we are born. It is not an intrinsic part of the soul. It is an external construct, assembled piece by piece from the world around us. It is a patchwork quilt, stitched together from the threads of our environment. The first threads come from our parents, their beliefs, their fears, their hopes, their tone of voice. We are told our name, and the ego attaches to it. We are told we are a good girl or a naughty boy, and the ego sews on these labels as part of its identity. Then come the threads of society and culture, our nationality, or religion, or social class. We learn what is considered successful, what is deemed beautiful, what is acceptable and what is not. Each experience adds another patch. A moment of praise adds a patch of "I am smart." A moment of ridicule adds a patch of "I am not worthy." A trauma adds a thick, heavy patch of fear and defense. The ego becomes a composite sketch of every external judgment, every reaction, every piece of data we have ever received from the world outside ourselves. It is a story, written by others, that we learn to call me. And here is the great mistake. The central crisis of the human experience, the astronaut. Your soul becomes so immersed in the experience of walking on the moon, so identified with the sensations and limitations of its suit, that it forgets it is an astronaut. It looks at the reflection in its helmet visor and believes the suit is its true self. The soul, the boundless observer, falls asleep within the machine and begins to believe it is the machine. This is the moment the ego ceases to be a useful tool and becomes a tyrannical master. This is when the servant takes over the mansion. Once this misidentification occurs, our entire reality shifts. We are no longer a spiritual being having a human experience. We are an ego, desperately trying to survive and enhance itself in a world it perceives as threatening and separate. And because the ego is a construction of the mind, its survival depends on thought. It lives in the past and the future, the two realms where thought can exist. It constantly replays old grievances and past glories to reinforce its story, the past. And it endlessly projects hopes and fears into an imagined tomorrow to ensure its continuity, the future. It cannot exist in the simple, silent awareness of the present moment. For, in the now, there is no story to tell, and the ego, being nothing but a story, would cease to exist. This ego-driven consciousness has specific characteristics. Its prime motivation is fear. Fear of not having enough. Fear of not being enough. Fear of judgment. Fear of loss. And ultimately, fear of its own death, which it confuses with the soul's annihilation. This fear drives it to endlessly compare itself to other egos. It needs to be better than, smarter than, richer than, or more spiritual than others to feel secure. It is the source of judgment, criticism, and the need to be right. It operates on a principle of accumulation, believing that acquiring more possessions, more status, more knowledge, or more approval will add to its sense of self, and finally make it feel whole and safe. But because it is a phantom self, a bottomless pit, no amount of external validation is ever enough for long. The high of a compliment or a new purchase quickly fades, and the hungry ghost of the ego demands its next meal. This is the source of the incessant, chattering voice in your head. That is the voice of the ego. It is the narrator of the story, the inner critic, the worrier, the judge. It is the roommate in your head. As spiritual teacher Michael Singer calls it, that never shuts up. It is constantly analyzing, labeling, complaining, and demanding, creating the vast majority of what we call human suffering. The suffering is not caused by life's events themselves, but by the ego's interpretation of and resistance to those events, by the story it tells about them when we are stuck in traffic. The suffering does not come from the stationary cars. It comes from the ego's story. This shouldn't be happening. I'm going to be late. This always happens to me. The journey of awakening is not a war against this ego. To fight the ego is an unwinnable battle, because the part of you that is fighting is the ego. It is the ego trying to become more spiritual by destroying itself. Another one of its clever survival strategies. The path is not one of destruction, but of disidentification. It is the gentle, patient, and compassionate process of the astronaut remembering it is not the suit. It is learning to observe the voice in your head without believing everything it says. It is creating a space of awareness between the observer, the soul, and the thought, the ego. You are not the anger. You are the awareness that is noticing the anger. You are not the fear. You are the silent presence watching the fear arise and pass. The personality suit, the ego, is not something to be discarded. You still need it to interact with the world. The enlightened master still has a name, still has a body, still knows not to touch a hot stove, but the identification is gone. The ego is returned to its rightful place as a servant. It becomes a transparent vehicle for the soul's light, rather than an opaque prison for its consciousness. It is a tool used with love and awareness, no longer a tyrant ruled by fear. The suffering created by the ego's reign, the deep dissatisfaction and anxiety it produces, is not a punishment. It is a divine alarm clock. It is the friction of the ill-fitting suit, the constant chafing and discomfort, that finally, mercifully, prompts the soul to stir in its sleep and ask the most important question of all. If I am not this voice, not this story, not this suit, then who am I? This question is the first crack of light, the first sign that the soul is beginning to hear a different sound, a faint whisper beneath the static of the ego's chatter. It is the first call to return home. The question echoes in the newly created space within you. If I am not the suit, then who am I? This question, arising from the depths of your being, is the single most important event in a human life. It is the first conscious act of disidentification from the ego. It is a tremor that shakes the foundations of the personality suit. And in the silence that follows the question, if you listen with your whole being, you will begin to hear it. It is not a voice of thunder, not a booming command from the heavens. It is a whisper, a faint signal beneath the relentless static of the ego's chatter. This is the first call of the soul. It is the sound of you, remembering you. For many, this call does not feel holy or profound at first. It feels like a problem. It manifests as a quiet, knowing dissatisfaction. You may have everything the ego promised would bring happiness, the successful career, the comfortable home, the loving family, the respect of your peers, and yet you find yourself staring out the window on a Tuesday afternoon, feeling an inexplicable emptiness. A sense of hollowness pervades your greatest achievements. You climb the ladder of success only to find it was leaning against the wrong wall. The question, is this all there is, begins to haunt your quiet moments. A ghost at the feast of your own life. This feeling is the soul's whisper, gently telling you, you are looking for me in all the wrong places. For others, the call takes the form of a deep, unquenchable yearning for meaning and purpose. The daily routines of life begin to feel like a charade, a pointless series of motions devoid of any real significance. A hunger awakens within you, a hunger that no amount of money, food, entertainment, or romance can satiate. It is a hunger for connection, for truth, for something real in a world that suddenly feels synthetic. You might find yourself drawn to books you would have never read before, having conversations that delve into the nature of existence, or feeling a sudden, intense curiosity about the great mysteries of life and death. This is the soul's whisper, saying, there is a deeper story playing out. Come and find it. This initial stirring, this sacred discontent, is what the great mythologist Joseph Campbell called the call to adventure. It is the first stage of the hero's journey. It is the moment the universe extends a formal invitation to you, the hero of your own story, to leave the comfort of the ordinary world, the world defined by the ego and its rules, and to step across the threshold into the unknown territory of your own inner landscape. But we are masters of ignoring this call. The ego, whose very survival depends on maintaining the status quo, is terrified of this whisper. It will do anything to drown it out. It tells you the dissatisfaction is just boredom, so you should buy a new car or plan a more exotic vacation. It tells you the yearning for meaning is a sign of depression, so you should work harder. Watch more television. Numb the feeling with food or drink. We become experts at creating more noise, more static, to avoid the terrifying silence where the whisper lives. And so, the universe, in its infinite love and intelligence, has a backup plan. If you do not hear the whisper, it will pick up a megaphone. The universe's megaphone often takes the form of what we call a life crisis. This is the loving, though often painful, intervention designed to shake you from your slumber. A sudden job loss forces you to question the identity you built around your career. A painful breakup or divorce shatters the illusion that your wholeness could be found in another person. A health crisis brings you face to face with your own mortality, forcing you to reevaluate every priority in your life. A period of deep depression can act as a dark night of the soul, where the ego's structures completely collapse, leaving you with no choice but to search for a deeper foundation. The story of Siddhartha Gautama, the man who would become the Buddha, is the ultimate archetype of this process. He was a prince who had every imaginable pleasure. Protected from all suffering, he had the perfect ego life. But the whisper was there. It led him to venture outside his palace walls, where he encountered the raw reality of human existence: an old man, a sick man, and a corpse. This was his megaphone. The reality of suffering and impermanence shattered his gilded cage and ignited his quest for liberation. A quest that would ultimately benefit all of humanity. These crises are not punishments. They are not signs that you have failed. They are acts of grace. They are pattern interrupts of the highest order, designed by your own higher self in accordance with your soul contract. They are the universe lovingly taking you by the shoulders and saying, "Stop. The path you are on is no longer serving your soul's evolution. It is time to listen." And in the rubble of a life that has fallen apart, we often find the space to finally hear the whisper that was there all along. Whether you hear the call as a gentle whisper or a deafening megaphone, the next step is the same. You must learn the art of listening. You must consciously choose to turn down the volume of the external world, so you can tune into the frequency of your inner world. This requires creating intentional space in your life. The first and most powerful practice is silence. This does not necessarily mean an hour of formal meditation, although that is a profound tool. It can begin with just 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes of sitting in a quiet room with no phone, no television, no book, no distraction. Simply sitting with the intention of listening to your own inner space. At first, you will likely hear only the ego's static, a chaotic rush of to-do lists, worries, and judgments. But if you persist, day after day, you create a sanctuary in time. You signal to your soul that you are available, that you are ready to listen, and gradually, in the gaps between the thoughts, the whisper will become clearer. The second practice is to immerse yourself in nature. The natural world vibrates at the native frequency of the soul. The static of human society, the deadlines, the ambitions, the anxieties fades away when you are standing in a forest, by the ocean, or under a vast, starry sky. Nature doesn't hurry, yet everything is accomplished. It reminds your body and your energy field of a deeper rhythm, a more authentic pace. Walking barefoot on the earth, listening to the wind in the trees, watching a river flow. These simple acts recalibrate your consciousness and make the soul's signal much easier to perceive. The third practice is to engage in a dialogue with yourself through journaling. Take a pen and paper and ask the big questions. Who am I? Really? What does my soul yearn for? What is the next step for my highest good? Then, allow your hand to move without judgment. Don't edit. Don't analyze. Just let the words flow. You will be astonished at the wisdom that emerges from your own depths. This is not you making things up. It is you taking dictation from your higher self. The part of you that stands outside the ego and holds the map of your journey. Pay attention to what brings you a sense of joy, curiosity, or simple, quiet resonance. These feelings are the soul's compass, following what genuinely fascinates you. What makes you feel alive is following the thread of the whisper back to its source. Answering this first call of the soul is the pivotal moment. It is the choice to consciously embark on the journey of return. It is the decision to believe that the whisper of your heart is more real than the clamor of the world. It is a profound act of turning your attention inward, away from the promises of the ego and toward the truth of your own being. And once you make this choice, once you truly begin to listen, you will start to notice something extraordinary. You will realize that as you tune into your inner world, the outer world begins to speak to you in a new and magical language. You will discover that the universe is not a random collection of circumstances, but a perfect, living mirror, reflecting the content of your own inner state back to you with flawless accuracy. You are about to be formally introduced to the most fundamental operating principle of the cosmos, the law of attraction. As you begin to consciously quiet the static of the ego and tune into the subtle whispers of your soul, a new and startling perception of reality begins to dawn. You start to notice that the world around you is not the solid, fixed, and separate place you once thought it was. It seems to shimmer with a new kind of intelligence, to respond to you in uncanny ways. You think of an old friend you haven't seen in years, and the next day, they call you out of the blue. You have a question on your mind, and you overhear strangers on the street discussing the very topic. You feel a surge of gratitude, and your day unfolds with ease and grace. You feel a wave of frustration, and you suddenly find yourself stuck in traffic and spilling coffee on your shirt. This is your formal introduction to the most basic and most powerful law of the universe. It is the principle that holds galaxies together and governs every interaction in your life. It is the discovery that the world is a perfect, living mirror. This is the law of attraction. At its core, the law of attraction is elegantly simple, like attracts like. This is not a new age fad or a magical thinking technique. It is a fundamental principle of energy that has been taught by mystics and sages for millennia. Now echoed in the language of quantum physics, the universe, at its most basic level, is not solid matter. It is a vast, vibrating field of energy. Everything within it, from the farthest star to the thoughts you are thinking right now, is energy vibrating at a specific frequency. And the foundational law of this energetic universe is that energy of a certain frequency will naturally attract or resonate with energy of a similar frequency. Your thoughts, your beliefs, and most importantly, your feelings are not private, contained events. They are powerful, energetic broadcasts. They are your vibrational signature, your personal frequency that you are constantly transmitting to the universe. The law of attraction simply states that the universe, like a flawless mirror, will unerringly reflect back to you experiences, circumstances, and people that match your dominant frequency. It is crucial, however, to move beyond the simplistic and often misleading interpretations of this profound law. Many have been introduced to it as a cosmic vending machine put in a positive thought. Get out a new car. When this inevitably fails, they become disillusioned and discard the entire concept. But the universe is not a catalog, and your mind is not a magical ordering system. The law does not respond to your fleeting wishes or your empty, repetitive affirmations. It responds to the truth of your being, your dominant vibrational state. You can stand in front of your mirror and repeat, "I am thin. I am thin. I am thin." But if you are looking at a body you judge as overweight, the mirror will impassively reflect the body that is there. Similarly, you can repeat, "I am abundant. I am abundant." But if your heart is knotted with a deep-seated feeling of lack and fear, the universe will faithfully mirror back to you the experience of lack. The mirror reflects the truth of your vibration, not the words you use to try and cover it up. The secret is not to change what you say, but to fundamentally change who you are being. This is also where we must gently address the misunderstanding that this law blames people for their own suffering. To suggest that someone consciously attracted a tragedy or an illness is a cruel and inaccurate application of this principle. The mirror reflects your entire vibrational signature, and that includes the vast, powerful realm of your subconscious mind, the storehouse of your deepest core beliefs, your unhealed traumas, and your ancestral patterns. These are the powerful frequencies that are often running the show from behind the scenes, without our conscious awareness. Therefore, if your life mirror is reflecting back to you experiences of conflict, betrayal, or scarcity, it is not punishing you. It is a loving and neutral messenger. It is the universe holding up a diagnostic tool and saying, with infinite compassion, "Look, this frequency of not being worthy is running within your energy field. I am showing it to you in your external world so that you can finally see it, acknowledge it, and heal it." The mirror shows you what needs to be healed. It reveals the invisible so you can make it conscious. It does not blame, it only reveals. Let's bring this down to a simple, everyday experience. Think of a day that started badly. You wake up late, and your first thought is one of panic and frustration. This thought sends out a vibration of chaotic, rushed energy. As you rush, you stup your toe, amplifying the frustration. Now you're vibrating at an even stronger frequency of things are going wrong. In the kitchen, you spill your coffee, the universe mirroring your chaotic energy. In the car, you hit every red light and get stuck behind the slowest driver. A perfect reflection of your inner feeling of being blocked and frustrated. By the time you get to work, you are a powerful magnet for more frustrating experiences. This is not bad luck. It is vibrational resonance in action. Conversely, think of a day where you wake up feeling a genuine sense of peace and gratitude. You take a moment to appreciate the warmth of your bed, the taste of your coffee. You send out a smooth, coherent frequency of well-being. On your drive, someone waves you into traffic with a smile. You find a perfect parking spot right near the entrance. Your boss compliments you on your work. The day seems to flow with an effortless grace. This is not good luck. It is the mirror of the world, reflecting back the beauty and coherence of your own inner state. So, what do we do with this staggering realization? How do we begin to consciously work with this law? The first step is not to try and change everything at once. It is not to frantically police every thought or force yourself to feel happy when you are sad. The first step is simply to become an empowered observer, to start looking at your life as feedback, to see your reality not as a random series of events to be endured, but as a perfect reflection of your inner world to be studied with curiosity. This is the shift from victim to creator. When an experience arises that you do not prefer, instead of reacting with blame and frustration, "Why does this always happen to me?" you can learn to pause, take a breath, and ask a new set of questions. Gentle question, asked with compassion, not judgment. "This is interesting. This situation is making me feel a deep sense of injustice. Where else in my life do I feel this? What is the underlying belief about the world or myself that resonates with this feeling of injustice? This practice begins to dissolve the illusion of separation between in here and out there. You begin to see the intimate, unbreakable connection between your inner landscape and your outer circumstances. You realize that to change your world, you don't need to struggle and fight against the reflection in the mirror. You don't need to manipulate other people or control external events. All you have to do is turn your attention inward and begin the work of tending to your own vibrational garden. You must be willing to pull the weeds of limiting beliefs and lovingly plant the seeds of new, more expansive truths about who you are. The mirror of the world will then, by law, have no choice but to reflect back to you a more beautiful, more abundant, and more joyful garden. It is not magic, it is the physics of consciousness. This understanding is a profound turning point on the soul's journey. The world ceases to be a frightening or arbitrary place. It becomes your friend, your teacher, your most honest and intimate confidant. It is constantly communicating with you, constantly showing you the state of your own heart and mind. And this raises a new, exciting possibility. If the universe communicates through this grand, reflective law, does it also communicate in more specific ways? Does it leave us clues? Does it send us signs to let us know when we are on the right track? And when we have strayed? The answer is a resounding yes. The universe speaks in a rich, symbolic language, designed to guide the attentive soul. Now that you understand the mirror, it is time to learn how to read the messages that appear within it. It is time to decode the universe's language of synchronicity and symbols. The discovery that the world is a living mirror, flawlessly reflecting your inner state, is one of the most transformative realizations on the spiritual path. But the universe's communication doesn't stop at this general reflection. The mirror is alive, and it actively seeks to guide you. It leaves you notes on the glass. It sends you specific, personalized messages designed to catch your attention, to affirm you are on the right path, or to gently nudge you back when you have strayed. It speaks to you not in human words, but in the elegant, poetic language of symbols and synchronicity. Learning to decode this language shifts you from being a passive subject in a random world to an active participant in a grand, cosmic conversation. The term synchronicity was coined by the brilliant psychologist Carl Jung to describe something far more profound than mere coincidence. A coincidence is running into a neighbor at the grocery store. A synchronicity is wrestling with a difficult life decision for weeks, finally asking the universe for a clear sign, and then running into a neighbor you haven't seen in 10 years who proceeds to tell you a story about how they faced a nearly identical decision and the choice they made that led to their greatest happiness. Synchronicity is the meaningful alignment of an inner state, a thought, a question, a feeling with an outer event. It isn't a causal connection. The inner event did not physically cause the outer event, but they are linked by a layer of meaning that is unmistakable to the person experiencing it. It is a wink from the universe, a cosmic breadcrumb on your path, letting you know that you are seen, you are heard, and you are being guided every step of the way. Once you open your awareness to this possibility, you will begin to see this language everywhere. It manifests in a variety of common, often dismissed, forms. Perhaps the most frequent are repeating number sequences. You glance at the clock and it's 11:11. You get a receipt for $22. Or sure, you see a license plate with the number 444 right after pondering a major life change. These numbers don't hold inherent magical power in themselves. Rather, they are a simple and effective way for your higher self and the universe to get your attention. They are like a gentle tap on the shoulder, a cosmic ping that says, "Pay attention right now. Notice what you are thinking or feeling in this moment." You are aligned. You are in the flow. This language also speaks through sound. You might be struggling with feelings of self-doubt, and you get in your car and a song comes on the radio with lyrics that speak directly to your situation, infusing you with a sense of strength and resolve. You may hear a particular phrase or piece of advice repeated by 3 different people in the span of a single day. The universe will use the auditory world as its billboard to deliver the message you need to hear. It speaks through animal messengers as well. Seeing a hawk circling overhead during a moment of decision, a spider weaving a web when you are contemplating a creative project, or a butterfly landing on you during a moment of grief. These are not random biological occurrences. They are symbolic encounters, rich with meaning, intended to offer insight and comfort. Perhaps one of the most powerful forms of synchronicity is receiving the perfect piece of information at the perfect time. A friend recommends a book that ends up containing the exact answer to a question you've been asking for months. You scroll through videos online, and one seems to leap out at you, and its message changes the entire course of your day. This is the universe hand-delivering your curriculum. James Redfield's classic spiritual parable, The Celestine Prophecy, is a masterful illustration of a life lived by this principle. The protagonist's entire journey is propelled forward not by logical planning, but by learning to follow a chain of these meaningful coincidences. He learns to trust his gut feelings about where to go and who to talk to. And each synchronicity leads him to the next insight, the next piece of the puzzle, guiding him on a profound adventure of spiritual awakening. His story is a metaphor for our own lives. Once we learn to trust the flow of synchronicity, we are led on the most incredible journey imaginable. So how do we interpret this deeply personal, symbolic language? The first and most important rule is that there is no universal dictionary. The ego mind loves to seek out rigid, external systems, a dream dictionary, a book on animal symbols to tell it what things mean. But the universe is speaking to you, using a language tailored to your unique consciousness, your memories, and your associations. The meaning of a symbol is what it means to you. For one person, a spider might symbolize creativity and the weaving of destiny. For another, it might represent a deep-seated fear they need to confront. The key is not to ask, "What does a spider mean?" but to ask, "What does a spider mean to me right now?" The true interpretation is found in your immediate, intuitive response. When the synchronicity occurs, how does it make you feel? Does it bring a feeling of expansion, lightness, and confirmation, like a cosmic yes? Or does it bring a slight feeling of unease, a jolt, a sense that you need to pause and reconsider your current course of action? The feeling is the message. The universe speaks to the heart and the gut, not just the logical mind. The meaning is often simple and direct. We are the ones who complicate it by overthinking, by allowing the ego to analyze the magic until it dissolves. Trust the initial flash of insight, the first feeling that arises. That is the truth. To become fluent in this new language, the most powerful tool you can adopt is a synchronicity journal. Get a dedicated notebook and begin to document the winks from the universe. When a meaningful coincidence occurs, write it down. Note the date, the event itself, and most importantly, what you were thinking or feeling just before it happened. What was the question in your heart? What decision were you wrestling with? This practice is transformative for 2 reasons. First, it trains your brain, specifically a part called the reticular activating system, to look for these experiences. Your RAS is the brain's filter. It shows you what you have told it is important. By consciously documenting synchronicities, you are telling your brain, "This is important to me. Show me more of this." And it will. The more you notice, the more you will have to notice. Second, Over time, your journal will reveal the patterns of your unique dialogue with the universe. You will see how specific themes and symbols reappear. You will have undeniable, written proof that you are not alone, that you are in a constant conversation with a loving and intelligent cosmos. You are no longer just a person to whom things happen, but a cosmic detective, finding clues and solving the beautiful mystery of your own unfolding life path. By learning to decode the language of synchronicity, you begin to truly partner with the universe. You learn to trust the flow. You stop trying to force and control life with the limited resources of your ego, and instead learn to dance with the infinitely more intelligent flow of the cosmos. You relax, knowing that you will be guided, that the resources you need will appear, that the answers will come, often in the most unexpected and delightful ways. This constant stream of loving communication reveals a profound truth: the universe is not just passively reflecting you. It is actively conspiring with you. It is working on your behalf, arranging circumstances and guiding your attention. And the primary tool you use in this divine conspiracy, the very raw material of creation that the universe is waiting for you to wield with intention, is the focused, creative energy of your own mind. As you learn to perceive the world as a responsive mirror and to decode its language of synchronicity, you arrive at the threshold of a new and formidable understanding. You begin to grasp that if the universe is responding to you, you must be the one who is initiating the conversation. If it is a conspiracy, you must be a key conspirator. You are standing at the door of the alchemist's workshop, the sacred laboratory of your own consciousness, where the raw material of pure potential is transmuted into the gold of experienced reality. And the great secret, the philosopher's stone that facilitates this transmutation, is a truth so simple and so profound that it has been hidden in plain sight for eons. Your thoughts create your reality. This is not a metaphor. This is the fundamental physics of consciousness. We are conditioned to believe that our thoughts are private, harmless, ephemeral puffs of smoke that arise and dissolve inside our skulls with no real-world consequence. We believe reality is the solid, objective world out there, and our thoughts are just a running commentary about it. But the opposite is true. The ancient alchemists and mystics knew that thoughts are things. They are not intangible nothings. They are structured, energetic realities. Every single thought you think is a vibration, an electrical impulse that creates a tangible energetic blueprint in the quantum field. A fleeting, unfocused thought is like a faint ripple on a pond, but a thought that is thought again and again, a thought that is charged with the powerful emotional energy of belief, desire, or fear, becomes a dense, coherent, and powerful energetic template. It becomes a thought form, a specific magnetic pattern that the universe, in its role as the perfect mirror, must and will respond to. Your mind is a broadcasting tower, and your life is the program you are receiving. Even our modern science is beginning to catch up to this ancient wisdom. Within your brain is a network of neurons called the reticular activating system, or RAS. The RAS acts as the brain's master gatekeeper, a filter for your attention. You are bombarded with billions of bits of sensory data every second, and it is the job of your RAS to filter out almost all of it and only allow into your conscious awareness what it deems important. And how does it decide what's important based on what you have consistently focused on? Have you ever decided you wanted to buy a specific model of red car, and suddenly, you see that exact red car everywhere you look? The number of red cars on the road hasn't magically increased. Your RAS, having been given a new command by your focused attention, has simply started allowing them through its filter. You have literally changed the world you perceive by changing your focus. Now, extrapolate this principle. If you consistently focus on lack, scarcity, and what's going wrong. Your RAS will diligently filter your reality to show you more evidence of lack. If you focus on beauty, gratitude, and opportunity, your RAS will faithfully open your perception to a world filled with those very things. Your focus is the lens through which you experience life, and your persistent thoughts control the focus. This brings us to the heart of creation, and the reason why so many attempts at positive thinking fail. The creative power does not lie in your fleeting, surface-level thoughts alone. It lies in the deep, powerful, and often invisible currents of your core beliefs. Imagine your consciousness as an iceberg. The small tip visible above the water is your conscious mind, where you have your day-to-day thoughts, your wishes, and your affirmations. But the vast, immense, and powerful mass of the iceberg lies beneath the surface of the water. This is your subconscious mind, and it is the storehouse for your core beliefs, the foundational truths about yourself, about life, and about the world that were programmed into you. Mostly in the first 7 years of your life, it is these core beliefs which make up an estimated 95% of your consciousness, that are truly steering your ship. Your life is a perfect printout of your subconscious programming. You can stand on the tip of the iceberg and shout, "I want to attract a loving partner." But if the massive, submerged part of the iceberg holds a core belief like, "I am unworthy of love," or "relationships always end in pain," which direction do you think the iceberg will drift? It will drift according to the powerful, unseen currents of its deepest beliefs. You can affirm, "I am wealthy and abundant." But if your subconscious was programmed with beliefs like money is hard to come by, or rich people are greedy, you will constantly find yourself sabotaging your own success. Your subconscious mind's primary job is to prove your core beliefs are true, because to it, those beliefs equal your reality and your survival. To change your life, you cannot simply paint a happy face on the tip of the iceberg. You must embark on the courageous journey of diving into the water to examine the massive structure below. This is the true meaning of the journey in Paulo Coelho's beloved parable, The Alchemist. The young shepherd boy, Santiago, has a recurring dream of a treasure hidden at the Egyptian pyramids. This dream is his conscious desire, his intention, but his journey is not a simple, straight line. He is met with constant challenges, setbacks, and betrayals. These are not random misfortunes. They are the physical manifestations of his own inner doubts, fears, and limiting beliefs. Each challenge is a test of his faith in his vision, and as he holds true to his quest, the universe famously conspires to help him, sending him mentors, clues, and synchronicities, the mirror of the world responding to his deepening belief. The ultimate revelation, of course, is that the treasure was buried back in the ruins of the church where his journey began. The treasure was not the gold. It was the alchemical transformation of his own character through the journey itself. His outer world was a perfect reflection of his inner quest to turn the lead of his fear into the gold of his self-realization. So how do we become the alchemists of our own lives? How do we access these invisible subconscious blueprints that are running the show? We must become archaeologists of the self, digging gently into our own being with the tools of mindful awareness and compassionate inquiry. The first step is to simply begin watching your thoughts without judgment, as if you were watching clouds drift across the sky. Notice the recurring patterns, the habitual stories, the dominant emotional tones. This creates a space between you, the observer, and the thoughts themselves. The second step is to use your outer reality as the map back to your inner beliefs when you are faced with a situation you do not prefer. Instead of getting lost in the drama of it, you can pause and ask a powerful alchemical question. What would I have to believe is true about myself or about the world to have created this experience? Or more simply, what belief is this situation reflecting back to me? If you are constantly struggling with money, the question is not, how can I get more money? But what are my deepest beliefs about money and my worthiness to receive it? If you find yourself in a pattern of unhealthy relationships, the question is, what do I believe about love and what I deserve from it? Asking these questions in a state of honest curiosity, without self-blame, is like turning a key. It unlocks the door to your subconscious operating system. The answers may not come in a lightning bolt, but they will come through an insight, a memory, a feeling. And once a limiting belief is brought out of the darkness of the subconscious and into the light of your conscious awareness, it begins to lose its power over you. You can see it for what it is, not an absolute truth, but an old, inherited piece of programming that you now have the power to delete and rewrite. This is the secret of the alchemist. It is the realization that the outer world of leaden circumstances is a direct reflection of an inner world of leaden beliefs. To change the world, you change the belief. This is the ultimate creative power, the ultimate personal responsibility. But as you begin to take hold of this power, you will inevitably come face to face with the primary guardian of your old programming, the chief saboteur in your alchemical workshop. It is the voice that whispers you will fail, that you are not good enough, that it's all nonsense. To become a true alchemist of your life, you must learn to master your workshop. And the first step in mastering the workshop is to deal with the noisy, fearful apprentice who is constantly telling you that your experiments are doomed. It is time to face, to understand, and to befriend the voice of your own inner critic as you stand in the quiet laboratory of your own mind, having discovered the alchemical secret that your beliefs shape your world. You are ready to begin the great work. You are ready to consciously choose new thoughts, to sculpt new beliefs, to design a new reality. But the moment you pick up your tools, a familiar voice pipes up from the corner of the workshop. It's the voice of the noisy, fearful apprentice. Who do you think you are to attempt such a thing? It sneers. You've tried this before, and you failed. People will think you're a fool. It's safer to just leave things as they are. Don't take the risk. This is the voice of your inner critic, the guardian of your limitations, the chief saboteur of your expansion. And learning to work with this voice is the next essential step in becoming the master of your own creation. The first and most crucial step is to reframe your entire relationship with this inner critic. Our instinct is to fight it, to argue with it, or to hate it for the pain it causes. But this is a battle you can never win, because the energy of struggle is precisely what the critic feeds on. You must understand that the inner critic is not your enemy. It is a misguided protector. Imagine it as an anxious, overprotective bodyguard who was hired a long time ago. When you were a small child, its job was to keep you safe from the pain of rejection, embarrassment, and failure. And based on the evidence of your early life, a moment you were shamed, a time you failed a test, an instance where you were told you weren't good enough, it developed a very simple, primitive strategy: keep you small. If you don't try anything new, you can't fail. If you don't let anyone see your true self, you can't be rejected. If you constantly point out your own flaws, you can beat others to the punch. Its methods are clumsy, its advice is outdated, and its tone is cruel. But its underlying intention, buried deep beneath the negativity, is to protect you. Seeing the critic not as a malicious monster, but as a fearful bodyguard operating on old programming, is the key that changes everything. It shifts you from a stance of conflict to one of compassion and curiosity. With this new understanding, you can begin the practical work of disarming it. The first technique is to create separation through observation. As spiritual teacher Michael A. Singer so brilliantly describes, you must realize that you are not the voice. You are the one who hears the voice. The critic is like a crazy roommate living in your head, providing a constant, unsolicited running commentary on your life. You wouldn't believe everything a crazy roommate says. So why do you believe the automatic, fearful chatter in your own mind? The practice is to simply notice when the roommate starts talking. Instead of automatically buying into its story, you simply label it. Ah, there's the critic again. Or my inner bodyguard is on high alert. This simple act of noticing creates a space between you, the calm, conscious observer, and the voice itself. In that space, you have a choice. You can choose to believe the story, or you can choose to simply let it pass like a dark cloud in the sky, acknowledging its presence without giving it your power. You are the sky, not the cloud. Once you have practiced creating this space, you can move to a more profound technique, transforming the critic through compassionate dialogue. This is where you actively befriend your misguided bodyguard. When the voice of fear or self-doubt arises, instead of pushing it away, you turn toward it with kindness. The process has 3 steps. First, you acknowledge its presence. I hear you. I hear that you're scared I'm going to make a fool of myself. This simple acknowledgement is disarming, as the critic is used to being fought or obeyed, not heard. Second, you validate its intention with gratitude. Thank you for trying to protect me. I know your only job is to keep me safe, and I appreciate your diligence. This is a revolutionary act. You are speaking to the frightened child behind the bodyguard's uniform. You are honoring its original purpose. Third, you gently but firmly state your new reality. But I want you to know that I am an adult now, and I have new tools and new wisdom. I am safe. I've got this. I am choosing to take this risk because it feels expansive and joyful. And I will be okay no matter the outcome. This compassionate dialogue does not seek to silence the critic, but to retrain it, to update its programming. You are transitioning it from the role of a terrified prison guard to that of a trusted, albeit cautious, advisor. The ultimate antidote, the very force that dissolves the critic's power on contact, is self-compassion. The inner critic thrives in an inner environment of harsh judgment. It is the prosecutor, judge, and jury in a courtroom of self-flagellation. Self-compassion is the act of walking into that courtroom and declaring a universal amnesty. It is the practice of treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a dear friend who was suffering. When you make a mistake and the critic launches its attack, "You're such an idiot. You always mess things up," the typical response is to agree with it, which just deepens the wound. The self-compassionate response is threefold. First, you mindfully acknowledge your pain. Wow, this hurts. This is a moment of suffering. Second, you connect with common humanity. But I am not alone in this. All people make mistakes. Imperfection is a fundamental part of the human experience. Third, you offer yourself kindness. May I be gentle with myself right now. May I give myself the grace I need. This response is like pouring cooling water over the hot coals of self-judgment. The critic's fire simply cannot burn in the gentle rain of self-compassion. Imagine your inner world as a kingdom. Your soul, your true self, is the wise and benevolent king or queen. The inner critic is a high-ranking advisor. This advisor is brilliant at risk assessment, but is pathologically pessimistic and fearful. For years, the kingdom has been run according to this advisor's fearful counsel, and as a result, the kingdom has remained small, stagnant, and safe. but also deeply unfulfilled. The journey of awakening is the process of the king or queen reclaiming their throne. A wise ruler does not execute their fearful advisor. They understand the advisor's value. So, before making any important decision, the wise king listens respectfully to the advisor's long list of worries and potential disasters. He says, "Thank you for your thorough analysis. I have taken your concerns into consideration." But then, the king turns to his other counselors, his heart, his intuition, his courage, his vision for a greater kingdom, and he makes his decision from that place of expansive wisdom. He honors the critic's voice, but he does not give it the royal scepter. This is the healthy, integrated relationship you are seeking with your own inner critic. Taming this voice is not about achieving a permanently silent mind. It is about changing your relationship with the chatter. It is about becoming the calm, compassionate center of your own being. The wise ruler of your own inner kingdom. You learn to honor the fear without being ruled by it. You learn to hear the criticism without believing it. And as you consistently choose the voice of compassion over the voice of criticism, something miraculous happens. The critic's voice begins to soften. Its attacks become less frequent and less intense. The inner climate of your mind shifts from one of a harsh, judgmental winter to one of a warm, accepting spring. You have created fertile ground within yourself. The noisy apprentice has been calmed, and the workshop is finally quiet. You are now free to begin the next stage of your creative work, consciously planting the seeds of your desired reality into this new, peaceful soil. Using the focused, vibrational power of your own words, with the inner critic retrained as a quiet advisor, and the fertile soil of your mind cleared of the weeds of self-judgment. The alchemical workshop is finally ready for conscious creation. The space is prepared. Now, you must learn to use the most potent and most often misused tool available to you, the power of your spoken word. We live our lives bathed in a constant stream of language, yet we remain almost completely unaware of its true nature. We believe words are merely labels, convenient sounds we use to describe a reality that already exists. But the ancient wisdom traditions knew a deeper truth, a truth encapsulated in the opening lines of the Gospel of John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This is not just religious poetry. It is a profound metaphysical formula. It tells us that the very fabric of creation is woven from sound, from vibration, from the divine utterance that spoke reality into being. And you, as a spark of that divine consciousness, carry that same creative power within your own voice. Every word you speak is a small act of creation. It is a command, a vibrational instruction sent out into the quantum field, shaping both the world within you and the world without. To understand this, you must stop thinking of words as mere sounds and start experiencing them as frequencies. Just as a tuning fork, when struck, vibrates at a specific and measurable frequency, so does every word you utter. The word love carries a high, harmonious, expansive vibration. The word hate carries a dense, chaotic, contracting vibration. When you speak, you are literally sending these frequencies out from your body. Like ripples on a pond, these ripples interact with the energy field around you, attracting resonant frequencies and repelling dissonant ones, subtly influencing the circumstances and people you draw into your life. Even more powerfully, these vibrations resonate within your own body. The cells of your body are mostly water, which is a highly impressionable crystalline structure. The words you speak aloud, and even the words of your silent self-talk, are programming the very water in your cells, instructing your physical being to align with the frequency of those words. Speaking words of sickness, fear, and lack is, on a cellular level. An instruction to your body to create an environment of disease and stress. Speaking words of health, joy, and abundance is an instruction to create an environment of vitality and well-being. This is why so many people's attempts at positive affirmation fail so spectacularly. They learn a few phrases and repeat them mechanically, while their inner and outer language remains rooted in a consciousness of lack. The universe does not respond to the empty shell of a word. It responds to the vibrational truth behind it. Much of our everyday language is a prayer for what we do not want. We say, "I hope I don't get sick," sending out a powerful vibration focused on sickness. We say, "I want more money," a statement that, on a vibrational level, screams, "I do not have enough money right now." The universe, as the perfect mirror, hears the vibration of not enough and faithfully reflects back to you more experiences of not having enough. A wish, a hope, or a want is an affirmation of absence. A powerful creative statement, a declaration, is an affirmation of presence. This is the fundamental shift you must make, from wishing for a future reality to commanding a present one. So how do we craft these powerful declarations? How do we use our words not as weak requests, but as the confident decrees of a master creator? There are a few simple but non-negotiable rules. First, you must speak in the present tense. The subconscious mind and the quantum field do not operate in the future. There is only the eternal now. To say "I will be happy" is to lock happiness in a perpetual future that never arrives. You must claim your desire as a present moment reality. Instead of "I will be," you must say "I am." Instead of "I will have," you must declare "I have." Second, your statements must be positive. The subconscious mind does not process negatives easily. If you say, "I don't want to be in debt," the subconscious mind focuses on the dominant image debt. You must frame your reality in terms of what you desire to create, not what you wish to escape. Instead of "I am not in debt," you declare, "I am financially free and prosperous. Money flows to me easily and abundantly." Third, your declarations must be personal and emotionally resonant. A generic affirmation copied from a book may have some effect, but one that you craft yourself, using words that make your own heart sing, will be exponentially more powerful. The goal is to find the words that trigger a genuine feeling of joy, excitement, or peace within you. The feeling is the alchemical fuel that ignites the word and gives it creative fire. A pioneering teacher of this principle was Florence Scovel Shinn, a New Thought author from the early 20th century whose book, The Game of Life and How to Play It, remains a classic of the genre. Shinn taught that life is a game, and it is a game we can win, but only by learning the rules. And the primary rule is the power of the spoken word. She did not teach people to meekly ask or hope. She taught them to speak the word, to make their divine decree with faith and authority. She understood that when you speak your affirmation, you are not trying to convince a reluctant universe to give you something. You are aligning yourself with a spiritual law that is as impersonal and as reliable as the law of gravity. You are claiming that which is already yours by divine right. Her affirmations were bold, clear, and powerful. My supply comes from God, and I shall not want. I cast this burden of resentment on the Christ within, and I go free. The divine plan of my life now comes to pass. She taught that we must speak our word with unwavering faith, knowing that the infinite intelligence is already moving to bring it into manifestation. But even with the perfectly crafted, present tense, positive declaration, there is one final, essential ingredient that gives it life. Repetition impresses the subconscious mind, but it is feeling that attracts the reality. Words alone are a blueprint. Feeling is the electricity that flows through the blueprint and powers the construction. You must learn to feel your affirmation as a completed fact when you declare, "I am surrounded by loving, respectful relationships." You must pause and actually generate the feeling of being loved and respected in your body. What does that feel like? It might feel like a warmth in your chest, a sense of safety, an expansion in your heart. You must marinate in that feeling. When you say, "I am vibrantly healthy and full of energy," you must take a moment to imagine and feel the sensation of boundless energy coursing through your veins. Feel the strength in your muscles, the clarity in your mind. It is this combination, the focused word and the embodied feeling, that creates an irresistible magnetic force. This is the prayer that is always answered. This is the art of consciously crafting your world. Your words are the artist's brush. Your feelings are the vibrant paints. And the canvas of your life is waiting for your masterpiece. For too long, you have been like a child with a magic wand, waving it around carelessly, pointing at what you don't want, complaining about your circumstances, and accidentally creating more of the same. Now, you are waking up. You are realizing the power you hold in your own mouth, in your own heart. You are learning to hold the wand with intention, to speak your decrees with clarity, and to paint your reality with the rich, beautiful colors of deliberate emotion. But to become a true master of this art, you must go even deeper. You must understand that while words are the brushstrokes, the emotions themselves are the ultimate creative currency of the universe. It is time to explore the secret language of feeling. You have learned to quiet your mind, to befriend the inner critic, and to wield your spoken word with intention. You are standing in the alchemist's workshop, holding the tools of creation, but now you must learn about the energy that powers the entire laboratory. You must understand the fuel that ignites thought and gives life to your words. This energy is the very currency of the cosmos, the language the universe was born to understand. This energy is feeling. While your thoughts are the blueprint and your words are the brushstrokes, your emotions are the vibrant, living paint that brings your creation to life. To become a true master of your reality, you must learn the secret language of feeling. The universe, in its infinite intelligence, does not primarily respond to your words or even your fleeting thoughts. It responds to the resonant, magnetic signal of your being. It gives you not what you want, but what you are, vibrationally. And the most accurate, immediate, and honest indicator of your vibrational state is your emotion. Your feelings are the pure, unfiltered summary of your entire energetic broadcast at any given moment. They are the readout on the dashboard, telling you what frequency you are tuned to. This is why the law of attraction can seem so frustrating. You can think positive thoughts all day, but if your heart is heavy with a feeling of dread, the universe isn't listening to the thoughts, it's feeling the dread. You are broadcasting dread. And so the mirror of reality faithfully reflects back to you more circumstances to feel dreadful about. The feeling is the prayer. The feeling is the command. This reveals one of the most beautiful and often misunderstood truths about your emotions. They are not your enemy. Your feelings, especially the uncomfortable ones, are not a punishment or a sign of failure. They are a gift. They are your infallible, built-in, emotional guidance system. Think of it as a spiritual GPS. When you are feeling emotions on the higher end of the spectrum, joy, love, gratitude, passion, excitement, peace, it is the universe sending you a clear signal. Yes, you are on the right path. Your current thoughts and beliefs are in alignment with your true self, with the energy of the source. These feelings are your cosmic green light. When you are feeling emotions on the lower end of the spectrum, fear, anger, grief, jealousy. Despair. It is not a sign that you are a bad person. It is simply your guidance system telling you recalculating. The thought you are thinking right now, the belief you are holding, is out of alignment with who you truly are. You are pointed away from your desired destination. Negative emotion is simply the pain of resisting your own natural state of well-being. The goal, then, is not to be afraid of negative emotions or to pretend they don't exist. The goal is to use them as the valuable signals they are. Imagine an emotional scale, or ladder. At the very bottom are the lowest frequency emotions like powerlessness, despair, and grief. A little higher up is insecurity and blame. Higher still is frustration and anger. Then you move into content, then hopefulness, and finally, at the very top, you find the high-flying frequencies of joy, empowerment, love, and appreciation. A common mistake on the spiritual path is to be at the bottom of the ladder, in a state of despair, and to try to force yourself to feel joy. This is a vibrational leap too far. It feels inauthentic and impossible, and usually results in failure and more self-judgment. The art of emotional mastery is to learn to gently climb the ladder, one rung at a time. The only goal is ever to reach for the next best feeling. If you are in despair, reaching for anger is actually a step up. Anger has more energy than despair. It is a move from powerlessness to a feeling of injustice, which contains a spark of power. From anger, you might be able to reach for blame, then frustration. From frustration, you might be able to find a sliver of hope. From hope, you can reach for contentment. And from contentment, you can begin to touch joy. This is a compassionate, realistic process of tending to your own vibrational garden. You simply acknowledge where you are and gently look for a thought that brings a small measure of relief, a slightly better feeling. Alongside this gentle, moment-to-moment navigation, you can practice specific techniques to deliberately raise your baseline frequency. The master tool for this is gratitude. Gratitude is not merely a polite courtesy. It is a powerful alchemical force. It is the frequency of receiving. You cannot be in a state of genuine appreciation and a state of lack at the same time. They are mutually exclusive vibrations. The practice is to actively look for things to be grateful for, no matter how small. The warmth of the sun on your skin, the taste of your morning coffee, the fact that you are breathing. As you focus on these things, and, more importantly, feel the appreciation in your heart, you begin to shift your entire energy field into a state of abundance. You are telling the universe, "Thank you for what I already have." And the universe, as the perfect mirror, responds, "You are welcome. Here is more to be grateful for." You can use music as a powerful vibrational anchor, creating playlists specifically designed to evoke feelings of joy, peace, or empowerment. You can use movement, dancing, running, even a simple walk to break up stagnant, heavy emotional energy that gets trapped in the body. But the master technique, the one that unites all these principles into a single, potent act of creation, was taught most clearly by the 20th century mystic Neville Goddard. His simple, radical teaching was this: feeling is the secret to manifest anything in your life. You must assume the feeling of the wish already fulfilled. This goes beyond mere visualization. It is a full sensory immersion into a reality that has not yet happened physically. The process is this: first, get clear on your desire. Then, ask yourself the most important question. What would it feel like if my desire were already a reality? Not what would you think, but what would you feel then? In your imagination, You construct a short, simple scene. A single moment that implies your wish has been fulfilled. It is a scene that takes place after the goal has been achieved. If you desire a loving partner, you don't imagine the search. You imagine the feeling of holding their hand. The comfortable, easy silence between you. If you desire a new home, you don't imagine the house hunt. You imagine the feeling of walking through your own front door. The scent of the house. The feeling of the keys in your hand. If you desire healing, you imagine yourself doing something you couldn't do when you were sick. Like running on a beach or playing with your children with boundless energy. You take this short, sensory scene, and you loop it in your imagination as you are drifting off to sleep. The most receptive state for impressing the subconscious mind. You play it over and over, not just seeing it, but feeling it with every sense, until it takes on what Neville called the tones of reality. You feel the ring on your finger. You smell the new car scent. You hear the words of your friend congratulating you on your success. You do this until you generate the actual, physiological feeling of gratitude, relief, and joy that would be yours if it were already a fact. You fall asleep in that feeling state. In doing this, you are not pleading with the universe. You are impressing your subconscious mind with a new reality. And the subconscious, accepting this new feeling state as fact, will then begin to move heaven and earth to orchestrate the circumstances that will bring about its physical manifestation. You have planted the seed in the fertile soil of the subconscious, and it will grow in the darkness. This is the ultimate secret of conscious creation. It is the understanding that your inner world of feeling is the true creative reality. Your journey is not about chasing after things in the outer world. It is about learning to generate the feelings of your desires within yourself first, independent of current conditions. When you learn to feel wealthy in your heart, even when your bank account is empty, the world must rearrange itself to match your new state of being. When you learn to feel loved and whole, even when you are alone, the perfect relationships must appear. You are learning to use the currency of the cosmos, but this level of emotional mastery demands that we confront the very feelings we have spent our entire lives trying to avoid. To truly be free to create joy, we must be willing to walk through our deepest sorrows and fears. We must be willing to journey into the parts of ourselves we have disowned. It is time to journey into the Shadowlands. As you learn to master the vibrational currency of your feelings, you will inevitably reach a threshold. You will find that no matter how much you practice gratitude or visualize your desires, there are certain persistent, low-frequency emotions that seem to have a life of their own. A stubborn anxiety, a deep-seated feeling of unworthiness, a flash of rage that comes from nowhere. You may have tried to suppress these feelings, to override them with positive thinking, or to simply ignore them, hoping they will go away. But they do not. These feelings are messengers from the disowned parts of yourself, the territories of your consciousness that you have deemed too dark, too shameful, or too dangerous to visit. They are echoes from your personal underworld. To become truly free, to become the master of your emotional reality, you cannot simply build a penthouse of joy on top of a crumbling foundation. You must be brave enough to descend into the basement. It is time for the most courageous leg of your journey, the journey into the Shadowlands. The concept of the shadow was brought into modern understanding by the great Swiss psychologist, Carl Jung. The shadow was not a synonym for evil. It is, quite simply, all the parts of yourself that you have repressed and disowned. It is the psychic suitcase you have been carrying, filled with every aspect of your personality that you were taught was unacceptable in order to be loved and to survive. When you were a child and expressed anger, you might have been punished, so you packed your anger into the suitcase. When you were vulnerable, You might have been hurt, so you packed your vulnerability away. Your natural greed, your envy, your selfish impulses, your wild, untamed sexuality, all of it got stuffed into the shadow bag. But it's not just the negative traits. Perhaps you were a brilliantly creative child in a family that valued only logic, so you disowned your artistic soul. Perhaps you were powerful and assertive, and were told you were too much, so you packed away your own strength. Your shadow, therefore, contains not just your demons, but your disowned angels, your buried gold. What happens to all this repressed energy? It does not disappear. A fundamental law of the psyche is that whatever we repress internally will be projected externally. The world becomes a screen, and our shadow becomes the film we play upon it. This is a critical key to understanding the law of attraction at a much deeper level. You attract people and circumstances that serve as perfect mirrors for your unowned parts. The qualities in other people that trigger the most intense emotional reaction in you, whether it is intense irritation, judgment, or even obsessive admiration, are almost always a direct signpost to a piece of your own disowned shadow. The arrogant person who infuriates you may be mirroring your own repressed ambition and desire for recognition. The person you judge as lazy may be mirroring your own deep need for rest, a need you have denied yourself. The spiritual guru you idolize may be reflecting your own disowned wisdom and power. The universe, in its infinite intelligence, will relentlessly bring your shadow to your doorstep, disguised as the people in your life, until you are finally willing to turn inward and own it. There is a powerful ancient myth that perfectly illustrates this sacred process, the Sumerian story of the goddess Inanna, the Queen of Heaven, and her descent into the underworld. Inanna, at the height of her power and adorned in all her royal splendor, decides she must journey into the great below to visit her widowed, grieving, and fearsome sister, Ereshkigal, her shadow self. To enter the underworld, she must pass through 7 gates, and at each gate, she is forced to remove one of her royal garments and symbols of power. Her crown, her necklace, her royal robe, all are taken, until she finally arrives before her dark sister, naked and powerless. In this ultimate confrontation, Ereshkigal fastens the eye of death upon her, and Inanna dies. She is hung on a hook like a piece of meat. This is the ultimate ego death, the complete surrender of the persona. But her allies in the upper world intervene, and she is resurrected. And as she ascends back through the 7 gates, she is not only given back her adornments, but she emerges more whole, more powerful, and more wise than before. For she has now integrated the darkness within her. She has become the queen of both heaven and hell. This is the archetypal map for our own shadow work. It is not a journey of destruction, but of integration. It requires that we willingly strip ourselves of our ego identities, our defense, and our righteousness, and descend into the depths of our own psyche to meet the parts of us we have feared and rejected. It is in this dark, frightening place that our greatest treasure is hidden. The gold is in the shadow, the immense energy you have been using for decades to keep your anger, your grief, and your fear locked away. Imagine what you could create if all that energy was liberated and returned to you. Integrating your anger doesn't make you an angry person. It returns to you the power of healthy boundaries, assertiveness, and the capacity to protect what you love. Integrating your grief doesn't make you perpetually sad. It opens the floodgates of your heart to profound compassion and connection. Integrating your fear doesn't make you reckless. It unlocks the quiet, steady courage that lies on the other side. So how do we begin this courageous journey? We do it gently, with immense self-compassion. The first practice is to begin watching your triggers. When you have a strong, disproportionate emotional reaction to someone, get curious instead of judgmental. Ask yourself, what exactly about this person is triggering me so intensely? What quality do they represent, and where? In some small way, does that same quality exist in me? Where have I been afraid to express that? Or where have I judged it in myself? This is not about condoning another's bad behavior. It is about using your reaction as a diagnostic tool for your own inner world. A second, more direct practice is to give your shadow a voice through journaling. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Take a deep breath and invite a part of your shadow to speak. You might write at the top of the page, "A letter from my anger," or "A letter from my fear." Then, just let it write. Don't censor it. Let it rage. Let it weep. Let it express its deepest terrors. You will be astonished at the wisdom it holds. You can then write back to it from your conscious, compassionate self, acknowledging its pain and beginning a dialogue. Ask it, what do you need from me? What gift are you trying to give me? This is how you begin the process of integration. You are bringing the unconscious into the light of your loving awareness. This is the sacred work of becoming whole. It is the journey from self-judgment to self-acceptance. As you learn to embrace all parts of yourself, the brilliant and the broken, the serene and the raging, the divine and the all-too-human, you stop being at war with yourself. And when the inner war ends, the outer war ceases to be reflected in your reality. You become a being of profound authenticity and compassion. For you cannot truly love and accept others until you have learned to love and accept the entirety of yourself. This journey into the shadow is not a detour on the path to enlightenment. In many ways, it is the path. But as we dig into our own personal history, we may find that some of our deepest shadows, our most persistent and irrational patterns, don't feel like they entirely belong to us. We may find we are carrying echoes from a time long before we were born. It is here we realize that to truly heal ourselves, we must also be willing to heal the story of our ancestors. Of course, here is the script for part 2. Sherlock, once you have learned to alchemize your own pain into wisdom, once you have stood in the sacred fire of adversity and emerged not broken but forged, a profound shift in perception begins. Your heart, once guarded, starts to open. Your compassion, once reserved for a select few, begins to expand. You look out at the world, and for the first time, you begin to see not just a collection of separate individuals pursuing separate lives, but something else entirely. A pattern, a connection, a hidden truth shimmering just beneath the surface of things. It is at this stage of the journey that you are invited to question the most fundamental assumption of your entire life. The illusion of separation. What if the feeling of being a distinct, isolated self, a lonely me struggling against a vast and indifferent out there, is the greatest trick the mind has ever played? What if the space between you and another person, between you and the trees, between you and the stars, is not empty space at all, but a vibrant, living field of pure connection? To grasp this truth is to move from personal healing to planetary awakening. This feeling of being a separate self is the primary identification of the ego. The ego is the voice in your head that says, I. The part of your consciousness that latches onto your name, your body, your history, and your accomplishments as the definition of who you are. It is a necessary tool for navigating this physical reality. Like a spacesuit is necessary for an astronaut to explore a foreign world. But the fatal error is to mistake the spacesuit for the astronaut. The ego thrives on comparison, on competition, on defining itself by what it is not. It creates an us and a them. It lives in a world of boundaries, of scarcity, of needing to protect its own territory. And for most of our lives, we believe its story. But spiritual maturation is the process of gently seeing beyond the ego's limited perspective. It is the awakening to the truth that you are not the spacesuit. You are the boundless consciousness wearing it. You are not a solitary wave, believing its entire existence is defined by its brief rise and fall. You are the entire, eternal ocean, temporarily expressing itself as a wave. The illusion of separation is the root of all fear, conflict, and loneliness. The realization of oneness is the beginning of all peace, compassion, and true connection. This is not a new, comforting fantasy. It is one of the most ancient and persistent truths, echoed in the heart of nearly every mystical tradition the world has ever known. In the rich tapestry of Buddhist philosophy, this concept is beautifully illustrated by a metaphor known as Indra's net. Imagine a vast, cosmic net stretching out into infinity in all directions. At every single node where the threads of the net cross, there hangs a single, perfectly clear, multifaceted jewel. Each jewel is unique, yet each one reflects every other jewel in the entire infinite net. If you look closely into the surface of any one jewel, you will see the shimmering reflections of all the others. And in each of those reflections, you will see the reflections of all the other jewels again, and so on, forever. There is no jewel that exists independently of the others. The existence of each one is dependent upon and defined by the existence of all. Now, understand this. You are one of those jewels. Your family, your neighbors, the people you love, the people you struggle with. They are all other jewels in this same magnificent net. When one jewel is touched, every other jewel in the net trembles. When one jewel shines more brightly, its light is reflected in all the others. This is the nature of reality. For centuries, this might have sounded like beautiful poetry, a mystical dream, but in one of the most stunning convergences of history, our own modern science has begun to echo this ancient wisdom. Physicists, peering into the very fabric of reality at the subatomic level, stumbled upon a phenomenon so bizarre, so counterintuitive, that Albert Einstein famously called it spooky action at a distance. This phenomenon is known as quantum entanglement. It demonstrates that two particles, once connected, can be separated by vast, astronomical distances, and yet they remain mysteriously linked. The moment you measure a property of one particle, its partner instantaneously changes its corresponding property, faster than the speed of light. It's as if they are not two separate things at all, but 2 points of a single, unified system, communicating in a way that defies our classical understanding of space and time. The implication is staggering. At the fundamental building block level of the universe, separation is not the final truth. Connection is. The universe itself is not a collection of separate objects, but a single, indivisible, interconnected whole. The ancient mystics, sitting in meditation, and the modern physicists, looking through their equations, they have arrived at the same shore of wonder. We are all profoundly and inextricably connected. When you begin to truly integrate this reality, it changes everything. You realize that your thoughts, your emotions, and your state of being are not private events confined within your skull. They are ripples you are constantly sending out into the interconnected web. When you cultivate peace in your own heart, you are not just creating peace for yourself. You are contributing that frequency of peace to the entire collective. When you heal a trauma within you, you are helping to heal that same wound in the consciousness of humanity. This is the ultimate expression of energetic responsibility. It reframes self-care from a selfish act into the most selfless contribution you can make to the world. The greatest gift you can give to anyone is the purity of your own vibration. From this understanding, compassion ceases to be a moral duty and becomes a simple, logical truth. To harm another is, in a very real sense, to harm a distant part of yourself. To judge another is to judge a reflection of your own consciousness. You begin to see the divine spark, the jewel of Indra's net, within every single person, no matter how obscured it may be by their own pain or confusion. Service is no longer about a superior person helping an inferior one. It becomes an act of solidarity, one part of the whole reaching out to support another. As the spiritual teacher Ram Dass so beautifully said, "We are all just walking each other home." You realize that helping someone else find their light does not diminish your own. It makes the whole net shine brighter. You are not a drop in the ocean. As the poet Rumi wrote, "You are the entire ocean in a single drop." And when we awaken to this truth, not just as isolated individuals, but consciously and intentionally together, a power of unimaginable scale and grace is finally unlocked. You have found your North Star, that inner calling, that sense of purpose that hums beneath the surface of your daily life. You have identified what makes you feel alive, what unique gift you are here to offer the world. But now comes a question that can define the entire quality of your journey. What if pursuing that purpose, what if moving toward that star, felt less like a grueling uphill climb and more like a graceful, joyful dance? What if the path of least resistance was not a lazy shortcut, but the most direct and powerful route to your destination? This is not a fantasy. It is a state of being, a scientifically recognized and spiritually profound state of consciousness known as flow. It is the experience of aligning so perfectly with the river of life that you are no longer swimming. You are being carried, guided, and supported by the current itself. You have felt it in fleeting moments before. Those times when you were so absorbed in an activity that the world around you seemed to melt away. When your sense of self, your worries, your inner critic, simply vanished, replaced by a serene focus. Time itself seemed to warp, with hours passing in what felt like minutes. This is the state where your actions and your awareness merge, where you are not just doing something, you are being the doing. This is the opposite of the struggle, the friction, the feeling of pushing a boulder uphill that so many of us have come to associate with hard work and progress. The universe is not asking for your struggle. It is asking for your alignment. And the language of alignment is flow. In the world of psychology, this phenomenon was famously documented by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi in his groundbreaking audiobook, Flow: The Psychology of Optimal Experience. He spent decades studying top performers in every field imaginable, from chess masters and rock climbers to surgeons and artists. And he found this unifying thread, this secret to peak performance and deep satisfaction. Flow, he discovered, is the optimal state of human consciousness, where we feel our best and we perform our best. It is the space where the challenge of a task is perfectly balanced with our skill level. Think of a jazz musician, lost in a solo, their fingers flying across the keys, not because they are thinking about each note, but because they have become a pure channel for the music itself. They are not separate from the melody. They are the melody. There is no self-consciousness, no fear of hitting a wrong note. There is only the pure, unadulterated expression of creative energy. Or picture a programmer weaving lines of code, seeing the architecture of the program unfold in their mind's eye, feeling a sense of elegant creation as problems are solved intuitively, almost precognitively. This is what Csikszentmihalyi called an autotelic experience, meaning the activity is its own reward. The joy isn't in the applause at the end of the solo or the paycheck at the end of the project. The joy is in the process, in the immersion, in the flow itself. This isn't a state reserved for elite performers. It is your birthright. It is the universe's built-in feedback system for letting you know you are on the right track, perfectly aligned with your purpose and potential. Learning to recognize the signs of alignment and misalignment is perhaps the most practical spiritual skill you can develop. It's like learning to read the weather of your own energetic field. When you are in the flow, when you are moving with the river of life, the signs are unmistakable and they feel wonderful. There is a sense of ease and lightness. Things just seem to work out. The right people call. The right opportunities appear. The resources you need become available as if by magic. This isn't magic. It is resonance. Your high-frequency state of joyful alignment is attracting high-frequency experiences. You feel a deep sense of joy and enthusiasm for what you are doing. Even if it's challenging, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like play, like creation, and most beautifully, synchronicities become your daily bread. You think of a friend and they text you. You need an answer, and you open a book to the exact page that provides it. These are not random coincidences. They are winks from the cosmos. Road signs confirming that you are on the right path. The universe is telling you, yes, keep going. You are in the flow. Conversely, the universe provides just as much loving feedback when you are out of alignment. When you are trying to swim against the current, the signs of misalignment feel heavy, and they are a call to pause, not to push harder. You will feel a sense of resistance and frustration. Every task feels like a chore. Simple things become complicated, and you feel like you are wading through mud. Procrastination becomes your default state, not because you are lazy, but because your soul is trying to tell you that this is not the right direction or the right timing. You may experience a string of constant roadblocks and obstacles. Doors that were once open suddenly close. Communications break down. Projects stall for no apparent reason. It is crucial to see these roadblocks not as punishments or failures, but as cosmic traffic signals, a universal recalculating route message from your inner GPS. Pushing harder against this resistance is like flooring the gas pedal when your car is stuck in the mud. You only dig yourself deeper. The wise response is to take your foot off the gas, to stop, to breathe, and to ask, what is this resistance trying to teach me? Am I trying to force an outcome? Am I out of alignment with my true purpose? This feedback is a gift, an invitation to return to the effortless power of the flow. So how do we consciously cultivate this state? How do we step into the river instead of fighting it on the bank? The first step is to have a crystal clear intention, but to hold it loosely, know what you want to create, the feeling you want to experience, but release your attachment to how it must unfold. The how is the domain of the universe. Your job is to steer the ship of your intention. The universe's job is to manage the winds and the currents. The second principle is what is often called the Goldilocks rule. The activity must be not too hard and not too easy. It must be just right. If a task is too easy, you become bored. If it is too difficult, you become anxious. Flow exists in that delicate, the dynamic balance between your current skill level and the challenge of the task. This means you must be willing to continuously stretch yourself just beyond your comfort zone, embracing a path of constant, gentle growth. The third, and perhaps most critical element, is unwavering presence. Flow cannot exist in a distracted mind. It demands your full attention. This means creating a sacred space for your important work, turning off notifications, and committing to single tasting. When you give a task your complete presence, you infuse it with power, and you open the portal to the flow state. Finally, and this is the great paradox, you must learn to let go of the outcome. You set your intention, you engage in the work with full presence, and then you release your desperate need for a specific result. Your immersion in the process is what guarantees the best possible result. When you are in flow, you are co-creating with the intelligence of the universe. You are allowing a wisdom far greater than your own conscious mind to move through you. Trust this process. Trust the river. It knows the way to the ocean. Aligning with the flow is not about becoming passive. It is about engaging in inspired action that feels joyful and energized. It's the difference between forcing a flower to bloom and providing the perfect soil, water, and sunlight for it to blossom naturally and in its own divine timing. This is the art of living, and it is available to you in every moment. But this alignment isn't just about constant, intense action. The river itself has rhythms. It has periods of rapid movement and periods of calm, deep pools. To truly master the flow is to also understand its natural counterpart, the sacred and essential rhythm of creation, the divine dance between doing and being, between action and rest. We have spoken of the river of life, of aligning with its current and entering that blissful, powerful state of flow. It is a state of energized, focused action, where you become a conduit for the creative intelligence of the universe. But to worship the rapids is to misunderstand the river. The river, in its infinite wisdom, is not all rapids and forward momentum. It also has deep, quiet pools, sections where the current slows, where the water grows still and clear, allowing the sediment to settle and the light to penetrate to its very depths. These periods of stillness are not a cessation of the river's journey. They are an essential, non-negotiable part of it. This is the sacred rhythm of creation, the divine pulse of the cosmos that echoes in your own soul, the dance between doing and being, between action and assimilation. In our modern world, we have been conditioned to worship the rapids, to equate our worth with our forward motion, our productivity, our hustle. We have been taught that to rest is to be lazy, that to pause is to fall behind. This is one of the most profound and damaging illusions we have collectively adopted, for it sets us in direct opposition to the fundamental laws of nature and the universe. Burnout is not a badge of honor. It is a symptom of deep misalignment. It's a soul-level exhaustion from constantly trying to swim in the rapids without ever allowing yourself to rest in the still, restorative pools. Nature is our greatest teacher in this regard. The seasons do not apologize for their rhythm. The dynamic, expansive energy of summer gives way to the harvest and release of autumn, which in turn leads to the deep, dormant stillness of winter. Winter is not a failure of the earth to produce. It is a period of profound integration, of gathering energy deep within the soil, of preparing for the inevitable rebirth of spring. The farmer who does not honor this cycle, who tries to force crops from a winter field, will not only fail but will deplete the very life force of the soil, ensuring a barren future. You are not separate from this natural law. Your mind, your body, and your spirit require seasons of rest and integration to process your experiences, to heal, to gather strength, and to allow the seeds of new ideas to germinate in the quiet darkness. To deny yourself this rhythm is to declare yourself separate from the rest of creation, to attempt to live by an artificial, unsustainable law of perpetual output. The universe does not demand your exhaustion. It invites your participation in its graceful, cyclical dance. True productivity, the kind that is sustainable and joyful, is born not from relentless effort, but from this harmonious rhythm of intense, focused action followed by deep, Intentional rest. This is not merely a spiritual concept. It is a neurological and psychological necessity. When you are in the state of flow, your brain is in a highly active, task-positive mode. You are executing, creating, and performing, but the aha moments, the deep insights, the integration of what you have learned, often do not happen in the midst of the action. They happen afterwards, in the shower, on a quiet walk, or in that liminal space just before you fall asleep. This is when your brain switches to what neuroscientists call the default mode network. This is the brain's rest and reflect state. It is in this state that your mind consolidates memories, makes new connections between disparate ideas, and processes emotional experiences. It is, quite literally, the neurological mechanism for integration. When you deny yourself rest, you are robbing your brain of its ability to make sense of your life. You are gathering data without ever allowing it to be processed into wisdom. This is why you can work tirelessly on a problem and get nowhere, only to have the perfect solution pop into your head the moment you finally let go and do something else. Your conscious mind stepped out of the way. The default mode network took over, and the answer was allowed to surface from the deeper intelligence within. Rest, therefore, is not an absence of activity. It is a different and equally important kind of activity. It is the sacred space where experience is transmuted into understanding, where your soul digests your life. The story of the prophet Elijah in the Hebrew Bible offers a powerful allegory for this truth. After a great and dramatic victory, a moment of intense, divine flow, he is not met with a celestial party. Instead, he is driven into the wilderness. Exhausted and depleted, he collapses under a tree and sleeps. He is not judged for this. He is tended to. He is given nourishment and allowed to rest. Only after this period of profound restoration is he ready to receive the next stage of his revelation. And it does not come in the earthquake, the wind, or the fire, the loud, dramatic energies of his earlier triumphs. It comes in a still, small voice, a gentle whisper that could only be heard in the quietness of a restored and receptive soul. We so often expect our guidance to be a thunderclap, a bolt of lightning, but more often than not, it is a whisper. And a whisper cannot be heard in a life filled with constant noise and relentless motion. To hear the whisper, you must cultivate stillness. You must honor the necessity of the cave, the wilderness, the quiet pool. This is an act of supreme trust. It is the faith that the universe is still working on your behalf, even when you are not. It is the understanding that your being is just as creative and powerful as your doing. So how do you begin to honor this sacred rhythm in a world that wants you to run? You must become a warrior for your own rest. You must schedule it with the same seriousness. You schedule a business meeting. Block out fallow time in your calendar. Non-negotiable periods for stillness. And guard it fiercely. Learn to differentiate between true rest and mere distraction. Numbing your mind with endless scrolling or passive entertainment is not the same as restorative quiet. True rest could be a walk in nature without your phone, listening to an instrumental audiobook, meditating, journaling, or simply sitting in a comfortable chair and watching the clouds go by. It is any activity that allows your default mode network to come online and your soul to breathe. Embrace the power of the sacred pause throughout your day. Between emails, take 3 conscious breaths. Before starting your car, sit in silence for 60 seconds. Look up from your screen and just observe the world around you. These microdoses of stillness prevent the buildup of stress and keep you connected to the rhythm of being. By honoring this dance of action and rest, you move beyond the brittle power of the ego and into the resilient, sustainable power of the soul. You learn that you are not a machine, but a garden, and by tending to your soil through periods of rest, you ensure that what you produce in your seasons of action is vibrant, healthy, and truly magnificent. And it is from this place of restored wholeness that you can begin to relate to the world, not from a place of depletion, but from a place of overflowing, conscious connection. You have learned to honor the sacred rhythm of creation, the dance between the energized rapids of flow and the quiet, restorative pools of being. You have committed to listening to your body and your soul, to working and resting in harmony with the cycles of the universe. And yet, life, in its infinite and mysterious wisdom, will inevitably present you with challenge. Even when you are flowing perfectly with the current, a boulder may appear in the stream. A storm may gather on the horizon, a sudden loss, a painful betrayal, a frightening diagnosis, an unexpected failure. In these moments, it is easy to feel that your connection has been severed, that the universe has abandoned you, that all your spiritual work has been for nothing. It is here, at the raw edge of your own pain, that you are presented with the most profound spiritual opportunity of your entire life. This is the moment to understand that adversity is not the interruption of your path. Adversity is the path. The universe is not punishing you. It is preparing you. And your greatest challenges are, without exception, your most powerful, unseen teachers. The most deeply ingrained human reaction to suffering is to ask the question, why is this happening to me? It is a question born of the ego, steeped in a sense of victimhood and separation. It presupposes a cruel, chaotic, or punitive universe that singles us out for random misfortune. But the moment you are willing to entertain a different possibility, your entire reality begins to shift. What if the universe is not chaotic, but intelligently and lovingly ordered? What if it is not punitive, but developmental? In that case, hardship is not a punishment. It is a form of training. A blacksmith does not punish a piece of raw iron by thrusting it into the white-hot fire and beating it with a hammer. The blacksmith is tempering it, strengthening it, shaping it into a beautiful and resilient sword. A personal trainer does not punish your muscles by pushing them to the point of tearing. They are creating the precise conditions necessary for those muscles to heal and grow back stronger than before. In the same way, the universe, your ultimate teacher, does not send you adversity to break you. It presents you with the exact challenges you need to forge your soul, to build your spiritual muscle, to transform you from a brittle piece of iron into tempered steel. Your pain is a sacred fire, designed to burn away what is no longer needed and to reveal the indestructible essence of who you truly are. The key that unlocks this transformative process is a simple, yet world-altering, shift in your inquiry. It is the conscious decision to stop asking the powerless question, why is this happening to me? And to start asking the divinely powerful, alchemical question, what is this trying to teach me? This single question is a pivot point for the soul. It immediately shifts you from the passive role of a victim to the active role of a student. It reclaims your power. It declares to the universe that you are no longer willing to just endure your experiences, but are ready to mine them for wisdom. And the universe will always answer this call. Perhaps the collapse of a business is teaching you the lesson of resilience, humility, and the true meaning of value beyond money. Perhaps a painful heartbreak is the fire needed to burn away your codependency, teaching you the art of radical self-love and wholeness from within. Perhaps a health crisis is the only thing that could force you to finally slow down, to care for your body as a temple, and to reevaluate every single priority in your life. The adversity is the curriculum, The pain is the portal, and the lesson is always one of expansion and love. This is not a new idea. It is an ancient truth, a cornerstone of profound spiritual and philosophical traditions. The Stoic philosophers of ancient Rome, like the great emperor Marcus Aurelius, built their entire worldview on this principle. They faced war, plague, betrayal, and the immense pressures of power. Yet they cultivated a state of inner tranquility by embracing a simple mantra: the obstacle is the way. As the modern author Ryan Holiday so brilliantly titled his audiobook on the subject, the path forward is not found by avoiding the obstacle. The path forward is carved directly through the obstacle. The challenge itself contains the raw material for its own solution. And for your next stage of growth, the thing you fear most holds your greatest gift. History is filled with the stories of those who embodied this truth. A politician who loses a devastating election is freed from the constraints of public office, allowing him to embark on a humanitarian mission that changes the world. An artist who suffers a career-ending injury to her hand discovers a passion for teaching, inspiring a generation of new artists in a way she never could have as a performer. These are not just happy accidents. They are demonstrations of a universal law. The universe closes one door not to spite you, but to guide you toward a grander one you were not yet ready to see. Psychologists now have a name for this phenomenon: post-traumatic growth. It is the scientifically observed reality that many people who endure great hardship and trauma do not simply return to their previous state of being, but actually grow beyond it. They report a greater appreciation for life, deeper and more meaningful relationships, a stronger sense of personal power, and a more profound spiritual awareness. They have been through the blacksmith's fire, and they have emerged not broken, but forged. You can verify this in your own life. Take a moment to look back at the most difficult period you have ever endured, a time you thought you would not survive. Feel the reality of that pain. Now, from your vantage point today, can you see what that experience taught you? Can you see the strength it forged in you? Can you connect the dots and see how, in some mysterious way, enduring that very challenge was a necessary prerequisite for the wisdom, compassion, or resilience you possess today? From this perspective, you can begin to feel a strange and profound sense of gratitude, not just in spite of your hardships, but because of them. You see, they were not stumbling blocks. They were stepping stones, perfectly placed on your path by a loving, intelligent universe. This is the ultimate alchemy, turning the lead of your deepest pain into the gold of your highest wisdom. And as you master this inner alchemy for yourself, your perception of the world begins to change. Your heart opens, and you start to see that this interconnected web of challenge and growth doesn't just apply to you. It applies to everyone, connecting us all in a shared journey of becoming. We have stood in awe before the profound truth of Indra's net, the realization that we are not isolated islands, but an infinitely interconnected web of consciousness. We have understood that when one jewel trembles, the entire net feels the vibration. This realization alone is life-altering, but it is merely the doorway, the initiation into a new level of understanding and potential. The next question that arises from a newly awakened heart is a momentous one. What happens if we don't just passively acknowledge this connection? What happens when we decide to use it consciously, deliberately, and in harmony? What happens if 1,000 jewels in the net decide to shine their light in the same direction, at the same time, holding the same intention? The answer is that you unleash a power so immense it can literally reshape our world. This is the power of collective consciousness, the symphony that is created when individual notes of awareness choose to play the same magnificent chord. It is the evolution from "I am creating my reality" to "We are creating our reality together." For much of our history, progress has been measured by the power of addition. One person plus another person equals the power of two people. But in the realm of consciousness, the universe does not operate on simple addition. It operates on the principle of exponential amplification. The more minds that hold a coherent, unified intention, the more the power of that intention grows, not linearly, but exponentially. This is the principle of resonance. If you strike a single tuning fork in a room full of them, its vibration is small, but if you can get all the tuning forks to vibrate at the same frequency, in perfect harmony, the sound they produce is not just louder, it is overwhelmingly powerful, creating a stable, coherent field of energy that reorganizes the very atmosphere of the room. This is not just a metaphor. In the 1980s and 90s, a series of carefully monitored studies were conducted to test this very principle in cities like Washington, D.C., which were plagued by high crime rates. Large groups of experienced meditators gathered for weeks at a time, with the sole, silent intention of broadcasting feelings of peace and coherence into the surrounding area. The results were astounding and statistically undeniable. During the periods of synchronized meditation, violent crime rates dropped significantly, by as much as 25%, in a way that could not be explained by any other variable. When the meditators left, the rates returned to their previous levels. They proved, in a scientifically measurable way, that a relatively small group of people holding a coherent state of inner peace could create a tangible ripple effect in the collective consciousness of an entire city. This power has been intuited by humanity for millennia. Long before we had the instruments to measure it, think of the great spiritual gatherings and moments of synchronized intention that have dotted our history. Consider the harmonic convergence of August 1987, one of the first truly global, consciously synchronized meditation events. People from all walks of life gathered at sacred sites around the world. From the Great Pyramids to Machu Picchu to Stonehenge, all holding a shared vision for a future of peace and harmony. It was a conscious attempt to use the power of collective thought to help heal the planet. Or think of the more somber, but equally powerful, global vigils that occur in the wake of a tragedy, when millions of people across the world simultaneously send their prayers, their light, and their love to those who are suffering. In those moments, we are not just feeling sympathy, we are actively participating in a field of collective compassion. We are adding our light to a great wave of healing energy, whether we are fully conscious of it or not. In these moments, we are acting on the deep, cellular knowledge that our unified focus has power, that our shared heart can create a force for good that is far greater than the sum of its parts. We are remembering how to be an orchestra. You do not, however, need to wait for a global event to participate in this great work. You are a broadcaster of consciousness. Every single moment of every single day, your personal energy field, which is generated by the quality of your thoughts and emotions, is constantly interacting with the world around you. You have felt this yourself. You walk into a room where an argument has just occurred, and even if everyone is silent, you can feel the heavy, tense static in the air. Conversely, you walk into a room where people are sharing genuine laughter and joy, and you feel your own spirit lift instantly, without a word being spoken. You are a tuning fork, and you are always broadcasting your frequency into the collective field. When you commit to cultivating your own inner peace, joy, and love, you are performing a profound act of planetary service. Your calm presence can soothe the anxiety of those around you. Your genuine joy can give others permission to feel their own. Your unwavering love can help to dissolve the fear and judgment in your environment. This is a form of sacred, silent activism. By choosing to be a beacon of light, you become a stabilizing force, a coherent point of energy that helps to raise the vibration of the entire web. Recognizing this power, you can then take the next step, moving from a silent, individual practice to a conscious, group intention. This is the foundation of the mastermind principle, made famous by Napoleon Hill in his classic audiobook, Think and Grow Rich. Hill discovered that when two or more people come together in a spirit of perfect harmony to work towards a definite purpose, a third, invisible, and powerful mastermind is created. This is a synergistic energy, a collective intelligence that is greater and more resourceful than any of the individual minds within the group. This is why forming or joining like-minded communities is so incredibly powerful. Whether it's a spiritual study group, a business mastermind, a women's circle, or simply a group of friends who commit to supporting each other's highest aspirations, the act of coming together with a shared positive intention creates an energetic vortex that accelerates the growth of everyone involved. You amplify each other's intentions. You hold each other accountable to your dreams. And you create a pocket of high-frequency reality that protects and nourishes you. Find your orchestra. Find the other tuning forks that are striving to resonate with the frequency of love. And play your music together. This is how we move forward. We are transitioning from an era defined by individual achievement to an era that will be defined by collective creation. The healing of our world rests not in the hands of a few powerful leaders, but in the synchronized hearts and minds of an awakened collective. And the single most important key to contributing your full power to this collective field, to making your note in the symphony as clear and pure as possible, is to master the art of accessing your power right where it lives. In the eternal, creative nexus of the present moment, we have journeyed far, exploring the immense power that is unlocked when we align our intentions and join our light with others. We have spoken of creating a symphony of consciousness, of healing our world together from the inside out. But a vital, practical question remains. Where is the conductor's podium for this grand orchestra? Where is the precise point of power where you can access your own energy, connect to the universal field, and consciously create your reality? The answer is at once breathtakingly simple and profoundly elusive. The point of power is not in the regretted past. It is not in the imagined future. The only place where life exists, where creation happens, where you can ever make a choice or feel a feeling, is in the sharp, vibrant, eternal sliver of reality we call the present moment. The now is not just a part of your life. It is the only part of your life that is ever truly real. And learning to inhabit it fully is the master key that unlocks every other door we have discussed. For most of us, our life force, our precious creative energy, is hemorrhaging into two phantom realms, the past and the future. The past is a landscape of ghosts. We wander through its corridors, replaying old conversations, reliving old hurts, basking in faded glories, or agonizing over different choices we could have made. Each time you allow your consciousness to drift back and chew on a bone of resentment or regret, you are taking the vital energy of your present moment and feeding it to a ghost that can no longer be changed. You are pouring your life force into a bottomless drain. The future, in turn, is a realm of phantoms. We project our consciousness forward, spinning out endless scenarios of worry and anxiety, planning and plotting and rehearsing for a moment that has not yet arrived and may never arrive as we imagine it. Anxiety is the state of being in the future, prematurely, and it is one of the most exhausting and draining states a human can endure. Imagine your consciousness is a beautiful, powerful vessel. Every thought of the past is a crack, leaking your power backward. Every anxious thought of the future is a crack leaking your power forward. The result is an empty, depleted vessel in the present, leaving you feeling powerless, right here, right now. In the only moment you truly have, the practice of mindfulness is the sacred art of sealing these leaks, of gathering all of your power, all of your awareness, back into the vessel of the now, making it full, potent, and alive. There is a great misconception about this practice that causes many to give up before they even begin. People believe that mindfulness or meditation is about stopping your thoughts, about forcing your mind to become a blank, empty space. They try this for a few minutes, find that their mind is a raging torrent of thoughts, and conclude, "I'm no good at this. My mind is too busy." This is like concluding you are bad at observing the weather because you cannot stop the clouds from moving. The goal of mindfulness is not to stop the thought. The goal is to stop identifying with the thoughts. It is to change your position relative to them. Imagine your mind is a river. For most of your life, you have been tossed about in the current, believing you are the river, swept away by every thought, every emotion, every worry. The practice of mindfulness is the act of learning to swim to the riverbank, to sit down under a shady tree, and to simply watch the river of your mind flow by. From this position on the bank, you can observe a thought of anger, a thought of sadness, a thought of joy, without being carried away by it. You can say, "Ah, there is a thought of worry," instead of "I am so worried." In that space between the observer and the thought, there is freedom. You are not the clouds. You are the vast, open sky in which the clouds appear and disappear. This is the beginning of true inner peace. This may sound abstract, but anchoring yourself in the now is the most practical, physical skill you can cultivate. You already possess the perfect tool. The first and most powerful anchor is your own breath. Your breath has a profound secret. It can only ever exist in the now. You cannot take a breath in yesterday. You cannot take a breath in tomorrow. To be aware of your breath is to be here, now, right in this moment. You can try it. Just feel the sensation of the air entering your nostrils, cool and fresh. Feel your lungs expand. Feel your belly rise and fall. Don't try to change it. Just observe it. In those few seconds, you were fully present. The breath is your constant, faithful friend, always available to call you back home to the present moment. Another powerful anchor is your physical senses. When your mind is spinning in a loop of anxiety, you can use a simple technique to break the spell. Pause it and consciously name 5 things you can see in your environment. Then, name 4 things you can feel. Perhaps the texture of your clothes or the chair beneath you. Then, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and finally, 1 thing you can taste. This simple game forces your awareness out of the abstract world of thought and into the direct, tangible reality of your senses, which can only be perceived in the now. The spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle uses the beautiful example of washing a dish. You can wash a dish while your body is at the sink, but your mind is 1,000 miles away, worrying about a future meeting. Or, you can truly wash the dish. You can feel the warmth of the water on your hands, see the iridescent sheen of the soap bubbles, hear the gentle sound of the sponge on the ceramic. In that moment, the mundane act becomes a meditation, a sacred ritual, a portal into the peace of the present moment. This is the ultimate secret of the now. It is not just a tool for stress reduction. It is the gateway to the eternal. Paradoxically, by becoming fully absorbed in the finite, temporal present moment, you connect with the timeless, infinite dimension of your being. When you are fully present, the thinking mind, the ego, which lives and feeds on the past and future, temporarily dissolves. In the silence that remains, the silence between your thoughts, you are able to feel the background stillness of pure consciousness, the essence of who you are behind your name and your story. This is the peace of God, the stillness of the universe. It is not a peace you must build or achieve. It is the peace that is already there, waiting for you, buried beneath the noise of your mind. By repeatedly coming back to the now, you become more and more familiar with this inner dimension of stillness. The present moment is not just another moment in time. It is the access point to a reality outside of time. It is your sanctuary, your point of power, and your direct line to the divine. And when you learn to make your home in the now, you discover that you hold the power not just to find peace, but to transform any space you inhabit into a sacred one, to create heaven right here on earth. We have found the key to the eternal kingdom, and its name is the present moment. We have learned to anchor ourselves in the now, to step out of the chaotic river of thought and find peace on the quiet riverbank of awareness. But what is the purpose of this peace? Is it merely an internal state of refuge, a temporary escape from the world? The universe now invites you to take the next, most creative step of the journey, to understand that the peace you cultivate within is not meant to be hidden. It is meant to be expressed, to be radiated, to transform the world around you. We have been taught to think of heaven as a distant destination, a paradise awaiting us after this life is over. But this is a profound misunderstanding. Heaven is not a place you go to. It is a frequency you tune into. It is not a reward for later. It is a reality you can consciously create right here, right now. Your life is your canvas. Your presence is your paintbrush. And you have the power to transform the mundane spaces of your existence into a living sanctuary, a heaven on earth. The most fundamental law of this creative process is, as within, so without. Your external environment is almost always a perfect mirror, a direct reflection of your internal state of consciousness. If your mind is cluttered with worry, unprocessed emotions, and chaotic thoughts, take a look around your home, your car, your workspace. You will likely find a physical manifestation of that same energy. Piles of unopened mail, clothes that no longer serve you, objects that hold negative associations, a general sense of disorganization. This physical clutter is not just an aesthetic issue. It is a form of energetic static. It constantly drains your life force, keeping your subconscious mind tethered to the past and creating a low-frequency environment that makes clarity and peace difficult to maintain. This is why the simple, physical act of cleaning and organizing your space is one of the most powerful spiritual practices you can undertake. When you mindfully wipe down a surface, you are also wiping the slate clean in your mind. When you sort through a closet and donate items that no longer represent who you are today, you are not just decluttering a physical space. You are consciously releasing old identities, forgiving the past, and declaring to the universe that you are making energetic room for the new to enter your life. Every drawer you organize is a corner of your mind. You are bringing into order. Do not see it as a chore. See it as a sacred ritual of clearing and consecration. Once your space is clear, you can begin to consciously infuse it with sacredness through the power of daily ritual. It is vital to distinguish between a ritual and a routine. A routine is something you do automatically, often on autopilot, like mindlessly brushing your teeth while you plan your day. A ritual, however, is a routine that has been infused with presence and intention. It is the art of making the ordinary extraordinary. Consider your first drink of the morning. Whether it is coffee or tea, the routine is to gulp it down while scrolling through the fearful headlines on your phone, starting your day in a state of anxiety. The ritual is to transform this simple act into a 5-minute meditation, It is to hold the warm mug in your hands and feel its heat seep into your palms. It is to close your eyes and deeply inhale the rich aroma. It is to take the first sip with your full, undivided attention, tasting every note. In that moment of pure presence, you are not just drinking coffee. You are communing with the moment. You are blessing your day. You are creating a pocket of heaven. You can create these rituals anywhere. You can create a ritual at the threshold of your home, pausing for a single conscious breath before you enter, intentionally leaving the stress of the outside world on the doorstep and entering your home as a true sanctuary. You can light a single candle before you eat your dinner, a simple flame that transforms a meal into a moment of gratitude and nourishment. Heaven is built not from grand, elaborate ceremonies, but from a string of small, ordinary moments that have been made sacred through the power of your loving attention. The truth is, two people can be in the exact same physical location at the exact same time, and one can be in their own private hell, while the other is in heaven. The difference is never the external circumstances, it is always the internal state of consciousness. Eckhart Tolle speaks of this brilliantly in his work. Imagine two people stuck in a massive traffic jam. The first person, operating from their ego, is in a state of self-created hell. Their mind is racing. This is a disaster. I'm going to be late. Why does this always happen to me? I can't stand this. Their body is flooded with the stress hormones of cortisol and adrenaline. Their blood pressure rises. They are suffering immensely, not because of the traffic, but because of their non-acceptance of it. Because of the story their mind is telling them about it. The second person, operating from a place of presence, recognizes the situation. They cannot change the traffic. Fighting it mentally is pointless. So, they accept it. They lean back in their seat, take a deep breath, and turn on an audiobook they love, or a piece of beautiful classical music. They use this found time as a gift, a moment of pause in a busy day. They remain in a state of inner peace. The traffic is identical for both, but their experience of reality is worlds apart. One has allowed their ego to create a prison of suffering. The other has used their consciousness to create an oasis of peace. You always have this choice. This understanding empowers you to become the conscious guardian at the gate of your own reality. Your mind, your home, your life is a sacred garden. You would not knowingly allow someone to dump trash and poison into a garden you lovingly tend. Yet we do this to ourselves energetically all the time. Being a guardian means you become consciously selective about what you allow into your field. What news do you consume? Is it empowering you and informing you? Or is it feeding you a steady diet of fear and outrage? What conversations do you participate in? Are they gossip and complaint, which lower the vibration of your garden? Or are they uplifting, inspiring, and creative? What music, movies, and books do you consume? Are they nourishing your soul, or are they polluting it with violence and negativity? This is not about spiritual bypassing or ignoring the problems of the world. It is about recognizing that you cannot help the world from a state of depletion and contamination. You must curate your own state of being first, by keeping your own garden beautiful, peaceful, and vibrant. You become a source of that beauty and peace for others. Heaven is not a place you find. It is a reality you build, moment by moment. It is woven from the threads of your presence, constructed by your daily rituals, and protected by the loving fierceness of your guardianship. And when you have practiced creating heaven in your home and in your moments, you are ready for the final integration, to cease creating a sacred life and to simply be one. To live the awakened life as the universe in human form. We have journeyed together through the vast landscapes of the inner world, We have stood at the forge of the soul and learned to alchemize our pain into power. We have decoded the whispers of the cosmos, aligned with the river of life, and realized our unbreakable connection to the entire web of existence. We have learned to inhabit the sacred power of the now, and from that space, to consciously weave the fabric of heaven right here in our earthly lives. And so we arrive at the final stage of this journey, a destination that, paradoxically, has been here waiting for us all along. This last step is not about learning a new technique or acquiring more knowledge. It is about the great surrender. It is about finally letting all the techniques, all the concepts, and all the striving fall away, so that you can simply become what you have been discovering all along. This is the awakened life, the art of no longer seeking the light, but living as the light, the profound and simple grace of being the universe in human form. For so long, the spiritual path can feel like an effort, a kind of doing. We do our affirmations. We do our visualizations. We practice our gratitude. We try to be present. These practices are essential. They are the raft that allows us to cross the turbulent river of the unconscious mind. But the purpose of a raft is to get you to the other shore. It is not meant to be carried on your back once you have arrived. To cling to the practices, to become a professional spiritual seeker, is to miss the entire point. The other shore is a state of being. It is the moment when you cease trying to be grateful, and you simply are a walking embodiment of gratitude. It is the moment you stop trying to be present, and you simply become presence itself. The scaffolding that was so necessary to build the temple of your awareness can now be dismantled. Because you have realized that you are the temple, the awakened life is not an endless series of self-improvement projects. It is a radical acceptance and embodiment of the perfection that is already you. A perfection that was simply obscured by the clouds of the conditioned mind. It is the supreme relief of putting down the heavy burden of becoming and resting in the infinite peace of being. There is a timeless Zen story that captures this transition perfectly. A young, earnest student approaches his enlightened master and asks, "Master, what was your life like before you attained enlightenment?" The master smiles and replies, "Before I was enlightened, I chopped wood and I carried water." The student, eager for the secret, then asks, "And what is your life like now, after you have attained enlightenment?" The master's smile widens slightly as he gives the same reply. "Now that I am enlightened, I chop wood and I carry water." The student is confused. But the secret of the awakened life is contained entirely within this simple exchange. On the outside, nothing has to change. Enlightenment is not about levitating off the ground or retreating to a Himalayan cave. It is about bringing the totality of your awakened consciousness to the most ordinary moments of your life. Before enlightenment, the master chopped wood while his mind was likely wrestling with spiritual concepts, worrying about the future, or regretting the past. He carried water while feeling the strain as a burden. After enlightenment, he simply chops the wood. His awareness is one with the axe, the scent of the pine, the crispness of the air. He simply carries the water. He is one with the weight of the buckets, the feeling of the earth beneath his feet, the coolness of the water itself. The mundane tasks have not changed, but they have been transformed from chores into a moving meditation, a joyful expression of his awakened state. This is the invitation for you, to bring the fullness of your presence to washing your dishes, to driving your car, to speaking with your children, and in doing so, to realize that every act can be a sacred one. A beautiful and surprising quality that blossoms in the awakened life is a cosmic sense of humor. When you are no longer completely identified with the drama of your personal story, You begin to see the whole of life as a magnificent and often hilarious divine play. Or Lila, as it's known in the Hindu tradition. You can look back on your own past, with all its intense dramas, its heartbreaks, its desperate strivings, and see it with a loving, amused detachment. You see the seriousness of the ego, how it puffs itself up, how it gets so terribly offended, and you can't help but chuckle with deep affection. This isn't cynical or dismissive. It is the profound joy that comes from no longer being a prisoner of the play, but an appreciative member of the audience who also happens to have a role on stage. You stop taking everything so personally. You see the dance of cause and effect, the unfolding of cosmic laws, and you can meet both triumph and disaster with a state of equanimity and a light heart, knowing that it is all part of the grand, unfolding story. This lightness, this playfulness, is a hallmark of true spiritual freedom. Finally, to live the awakened life is to live with a completely open heart. The ego loves conditionally. It offers affection in exchange for having its needs met, and it withdraws its love as a punishment. The awakened soul loves unconditionally because it knows it is love. Love is no longer something you get from others. It is the very essence of your being, radiating outward with no agenda. This requires a new kind of vulnerability. It is not the fearful vulnerability of the ego, which is terrified of being hurt or rejected. It is the fearless vulnerability of the soul, which knows that its true essence is indestructible and cannot be diminished by another's actions or opinions. Your sense of worth is no longer contingent on external validation. Your cup is already full, overflowing. You can therefore love freely, generously, and without expectation, because you are not trying to get anything in return. You are simply sharing the infinite abundance that you have discovered within yourself. This is the love that heals the world. And so we arrive at the ultimate realization, so beautifully expressed by the mystic poet Rumi. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a single drop. For a time, you have believed yourself to be this small, separate drop, tossed about by the waves of fate. But the entire journey has been about remembering the truth. You are not a fragment of the universe. You are the entire universe experiencing itself in this unique and precious human form. All the intelligence that orchestrates the galaxies and spins the planets is the same intelligence that is breathing you right now and beating your heart. Your work was never to become worthy of this magnificent truth. Your only work is to relax into it, to accept it, to remember it, to live it, to breathe it, to be it. This is the awakened life. It is the end of the search and the beginning of a truly magnificent existence. And so, our long and wondrous journey together comes to a gentle close. We began by listening for a faint whisper from the universe, a hint that there was more to life than what we could see. We followed that whisper inward, discovering that we are not merely living in the universe, but that the universe is living through us. We learned that our thoughts are creative energy, that our emotions are the language the cosmos understands, and that our subconscious mind is the fertile soil where the seeds of our reality are planted. We walked the path of the co-creator, learning to alchemize our deepest pain into our greatest wisdom, to find the sacred in the mundane, and to realize our profound, unbreakable connection with all of life. We have journeyed from the illusion of separation to the truth of oneness, from a life of effort to a state of grace, culminating in the simple, liberating realization of the awakened self that was always here, waiting patiently for our return. If there is one essential truth to carry with you from our time together, let it be this: the things you have been seeking, peace, joy, abundance, and love, are not destinations, you must struggle to arrive at. They are not rewards to be earned through endless striving. They are your starting point. They are the very frequency of your true nature. The great work of your life is not to acquire these things from the outside world, but to clear away the inner clutter of fear, doubt, and false beliefs that have been obscuring them from your own view. The goal was never to learn how to manipulate the universe to get what you want. It was always to become the person who is a natural, vibrational match for the beautiful life that wants to unfold for you. The true prize is not the manifestation. It is the magnificent, peaceful, and powerful being you become in the process. This, therefore, is not an ending. It is a commencement. It is the beginning of your story, told with a new awareness, a new power, and a new sense of peace. The audiobooks and ideas we have explored are not a set of rules to be memorized, but trusted friends and wise companions for the path ahead. Choose one that resonates. Press play while you drive, while you walk, while you wash the dishes, and allow these truths to sink deep into your being. Let them be the soundtrack to your own awakening. The universe is no longer a distant whisper you are struggling to hear. You have realized it is the loving voice that speaks from the very center of your own heart. Your only work, from this day forward, is to listen and to trust what it says. You hold the key. You are the creator. Your beautiful life awaits your command.